Biggest plot hole though, and I have to get this off my chest, is that this guy has this fridge full of human parts, and it's in his kitchen. It's in his kitchen. It's like a little off to the side, but it's in his kitchen.
But the handle didn't work. The handle, anytime you open it, the handle broke off.
It's true. You just kicked it a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
It's true.
But this is the biggest plot hole, is that this guy, very successful. He's a well-known chef. He's also a very well-known plastic surgeon. He can't figure out a way to buy a lock for his fridge.
Yeah, there were a few scenes where it was like somebody was about to open the fridge and the handle broke off, or
he just straight up yelled at him, "Don't open it!"
Yeah, like he got really suspicious. I would be weirded out if my friend didn't want me to open their fridge.
I am the podcaster. We can do anything. Welcome to Additional Crew, the spoiler-heavy review show where we choose whatever random film we want to talk about. This episode, we bring to you Yuji Kotorida has become plastic surgeon to the rich and the famous, almost overnight transforming himself from nebbish to charismatic icon. His secret? He eats women. In a flashback, we watch the flowering of his proclivity from an initial taste in a search that takes him to Hong Kong to murder. After the flashback, he promises a colleague he will prepare meat for her wedding banquet. This synopsis gives away every part of the movie, just FYI. This is the spoiler-heavy review show. I did say that right at the beginning, but make sure you know what you're in for. And about the same time, the police express suspicion. Can Dr. Kotorida carve out and escape? And of course, that lengthy description is about Osamu Fukutani's 2005 film, The Last Supper. More succinctly described as the cannibalism flick from Japan in the aughts.
Mm-hmm.
But this episode is special. Apart from it being co-hosted by the underwriter from My Love Policy, Janice, it is also a celebration of Additional Crew in 2025. This is our year-end special where I bring opinions of all the previous hosts for the best flicks they saw in 2025. So thank you to Andrew, Willie, Adam, Peter, Val, and of course Janice. Janice is joining me. She is the co-host today, second in charge of Celebration. Interspersed throughout, we're going to have movies, and we'll have some of my favorite clips throughout the year. Janice, how are we doing on this lovely, lovely New Year's Day?
I'm doing fine and dandy. Especially now that I have this questionable plate of meat in front of me.
Oh, now.
Do you want a bite?
It looks so yummy. Viewers and listeners, in case you haven't seen the film, this is relevant to the film. And also, it actually does really smell very good. Let's go ahead and get this kicked off. We're going to start with the original co-host, one who was with me for a long time in 2025. I'm, of course, talking about Andrew. Before I give his top 25, not his top 25, his top 2025 movies list, enjoy this clip of the two of us talking about the film Shudder that we reviewed previously this year. I'll cut here. I'll cut this part out. So
that meat is spicy.
Perfect. I'll cut that part out right there. Well, I'll use that as a thing at the end. Okay, so now that you've seen one of my favorite clips with Andrew, where we get to discuss the hygiene qualities of smoking while pooping.
Do you think it's hygienic to take a dump and smoke at the same time?
No, I don't. I've never thought that was like a thing people did. Maybe it's to relax their asshole when they're. Dude, like, why else would you need to smoke? Like you're that addicted, or is that the only time and peace you get? Like, fuck, dude.
Here's the thing, man.
You know, it's like you know, a lot of people do it because there's an actual like ashtray in the stall.
Look,
not like Tim.
You never smoke cigarettes, right? You
No,
don't have
I don't
to
like
out
that
yourself
shit.
on like that. But I did, and I will tell you, when I saw it, I was like, man, that's probably brilliant. It's gross.
No,
It's
it sounds
disgusting.
awful.
Yeah, it's the nastiest thing I can think of. But you know what? Is like a mixture of endorphins going on. It's probably pretty sweet.
Dude, you're taking care of business.
Yeah, and you're taking care of business, and business taking care of you.
Highbrow stuff we were talking about.
The best.
Let me go ahead and give you Andrew's top 5 movies that he discovered in 2025. These are not all released in 2025, but the movies he discovered in 2025 that were his favorites. So the first one he gives me even is the Minecraft movie. He loved it for the over-the-top stupidity and, of course, the chicken jockey meme that took over the world. Number 4, Weapons by Zach Kreger. Fun mystery film. Awesome. We'll talk a lot about that movie. I'm going to guess that that's going to show up in a lot of lists tonight. What about you?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Oh, yes. Friendship. Now, that is the Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd. I almost called it a rom-com. It could very well be a rom-com. And this film turned Andrew into a Tim Robinson fan. I remember watching this film on a plane. Let me tell you, it's a great place to watch this film because it makes everyone around you feel a little uncomfortable. Superman, the summer blockbuster, and the first Superman film that Andrew ever watched. He has now been inundated in the man.
That sounds yummy.
I'm going to let that one sit for a moment. And then Inland Empire, which is a film that Andrew and I reviewed at the very beginning of this year, of course, in memory of David Lynch after he had passed. And this is Andrew's top movie of the year that he discovered. And, rest in peace, David Lynch. If you would like to hear more about that, please watch that episode. We love David Lynch in this house and on this show.
Wow.
So, Janice, why don't you take it over?
Yes, I'd love to. Next, we remember the host that attempted to record in person with Nick for the first time, something that ultimately led to some issues but presented new challenges. I'm, of course, talking about Peter, co-host for the Terminator and Jason X episodes. Watch this clip where Peter convinces us to root for a serial killer.
And it's not that you root for Jason, it's just that he's the only one who has any interesting things at all.
You know what? By this point in the franchise, I think you are rooting for Jason.
Maybe.
It may be in the first movie, like in the first Halloween movie, you're rooting for what's her face's character.
Laurie.
Yeah, Laurie, who's the actress that
Jamie
played
Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. You're rooting for her. And then in the first Friday the 13th, it's like Jason's not even in that one. I think he shows up in number 2, right? And those movies, it's like you're probably rooting for the campers at Crystal Lake, and you're just like horrified by them getting killed. But by this point in the franchise, you're waiting to see Jason like kill people in brutal ways. Like you are almost on Jason's side, and these people are just like cannon fodder or machete fodder.
Now for Peter's top 5 films from 2025. Sinners by Ryan Coogler, The Perfect Neighbor by Gita Gandbir, The Woman in Cabin 10 by Simon Stone, Speak No Evil by James Watkins, and Begonia by Yorgos Lanthimos.
Thank you. And thank you, Peter, for joining us this year. Next up is Val, the co-host for the A History of Violence podcast, and someone that I've known for quite a while. He was able to record his first podcast with me at the end of the year, but it is not the first time that we have shared movie opinions, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Watch this video of Val explaining Vigo's loving style. Warning, there are a few History of Violence spoilers contained in this video.
Val, hit me with your 3 favorite scenes. Let's go.
The first scene I really enjoyed was the scene on the stairs. Because I do like sex. I like having it. I like looking at it. So that scene of not the aggression, not any of that, but the way they came to terms, and I know that angry lovemaking can be really good. And of course, I got to mention Vigo's ass and his quick, efficient pumps.
Good.
My second scene would be the scene where Jack steps up to the high school bullies and finally, beats them up right in front of his girlfriend and showed us that he can be violent too, just like his father. I really did appreciate that. My last scene would be when, to be honest with you, William Hurt, his whole part at the end, I felt like he was forcing his acting.
Yeah.
It made me laugh. Like, it almost felt like Keanu Reeves was being in that part acting, and the way he's like looking around, it did not feel serious to me at all. And when you mentioned that he got he nominated for an Oscar for supporting actor, I was
goofy,
confused.
right? It's goofy.
It has to be by name. It has to be from my point of view.
Now, I hope you enjoyed that. Now for Val's favorite movies of 2025. First, The Green Book by Peter Farrelly. Second, A History of Violence by David Cronenberg. Third, The Tomorrow War by Chris McKay. Fourth, Mad Max Fury Road by George Miller. And fifth, The Electric State by Anthony and Joe Russo.
Next up is Adam. Adam has been announced as the new full-time co-host with a few special episodes notwithstanding. Adam has a serious love of films, and you can check out more information about him on our Instagram and his own additional crew and VHS Goblin. We're lucky to have someone with as much film passion and knowledge on board, and are always excited to hear about some of his favorite movies. I'm sorry, I'm just reading from a script. He found in 2025. Next, sorry. Next, we present the question to Adam: do vampires have body odor?
Do vampires have body odor?
Wouldn't think so.
They must not.
If anything, it would be like
stinky.
dry-aged meat.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right? I hope not, because they were eating some gross people. That's why they look like that. That's why these vampires look like that. They had a bad diet.
You are what you eat, and we've only been eating drifters and people at road bars.
Right.
Not great.
We are happy to have you, Adam. Adam recorded his top 5 films that he viewed in 2025. So here they are in their fullest glory.
What's up? Balding VHS Goblin here with 5 movies I watched this year and enjoyed. I love Russ Meyer. I love all the stuff he does. I never saw this one. I got it. Motor Psycho. Anything Russ Meyer. Go out of your way and watch it. It's fantastic. This one's a lot of fun. Motorcycle. Then another film I watched this year, Big Japan Crocodile Deathmatch. So this leads you to believe that somebody's going to fight a crocodile, and I was kind of worried about that because animal abuse ain't cool. They don't. It's literally some guy shit-talking an alligator through, at a zoo. It's actually one of the funnier things I've seen all year. This is, yes, gory in a way, but hilarious. Fantastic. Watch that. I enjoyed this, the new Toxic Avenger. Peter Dinklage is Toxie. I thought it was extremely well done. I really enjoyed it. I like all toxic, anything trauma is good. I watched 28 Years Later, which is obviously the canonical sequel of 28 Days and 28 Months Later. This one I really enjoyed too. It was really good. Ralph Fiennes and his whole part of it is actually extremely fantastic. Danny Boyle and just zombie movies. He does a great job with them. And I'm putting this one in here for Nick. This is probably our favorite movie together. Him and I watch it pretty much every time we get together. We get the pads out, we get it done. This is LaToya Jackson's Step Up Workout. So we do our steps together, and I know it's not a traditional film, but I want to say the direction, the lighting, and the writing for this film is exquisite. one of the best things I think I've probably seen in years. Probably since the Leanna Quigley horror workout. Yeah, it's fantastic. Also, I watched The Puppet Detective, which I don't have a VHS for. I don't know, Jonathan, we need some VHSs of Puppet Detective. Anyways, that movie was great too. So go out there, watch some stuff you wouldn't normally watch. Enjoy the artistry of movies. Everything that comes to a theater, find stuff on VHS, like Motorpsycho. It's a lot more fun. Happy holidays, enjoy movies, and remember everything I say and everything you say, for the most part, is an opinion.
Welcome back. For the final guest co-host review spot, we bring you Willie.
Willie
is a longtime contributor and co-host on our fantasy football podcast, The Double Doinkers.
Doinkin.
You can always check us out if you're interested in fantasy football. We do record every single week live on Wednesdays on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, please check that out. Willie has been on a few different episodes of Additional Crew throughout the year and is always willing to jump in. That is not a pun that I intended to make, but I do recognize now that Willie and Willing, someone worked that out for me. Just a fantastic dude that I'm sure you'll be hearing more of. He also went above and beyond on this questionnaire and gave us small bite-sized reviews of every flick in his top 10. So first, I will show you Willie's highlight when I actually get him to join in on the Tyreek Hill hate train with myself.
Love you, Willie.
If there is a secret society out there that is run by Jerry Jones and all the NFL executives, I swear to God, I hope and pray that Tyreek Hill does not get access to this. His blood to fix his leg and stay around the league for 10 more years.
I hope you enjoyed that clip as much as I do. Whenever I can get Willie to agree about Tyreek Hill that way, it makes me very happy. Without further ado, however, here is Willie's top 5, starting at number 5. Willie did also record number 6 through 10. Stay tuned at the end of the show to get the full rundown of Willie's top 10.
At number 5, I have Yorgos Lanthimos' most recent film, Begonia, starring, of course, Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. This movie it honestly might be up there as my favorite Lanthimos film so far. It's just a perfect, it's similar to another movie I'll talk about a few spots down. It's just a perfect encapsulation of where we are at collectively in terms of the world we live in with regards to conspiracies, divides in class, and how all of these collective traumas, the grief that results from that, and how our own personal grief also interacts with that. I think basically the main plot point of his movie that you need to know is that these two conspiracy-obsessed young men kidnap this billionaire because they have been convinced that she is an alien, and they are trying to right humanity and right the victimhood that has been passed down to their family because of directly and indirectly because of her and her business. The best part about this movie is, as funny, as unpredictable as it is, the best part is definitely the performances. Emma Stone is great, but Jesse Plemons, I think he's up there for like my favorite performance by an actor this year. My favorite performance by an actor in a leading role, I can say that. I think he deserves an Oscar for this film. He is able to portray so much with this character, given so little that we actually know about this character's background, especially in the first 2/3 of the movie. He's just basically, in a sense, a nut job. But he is able to portray so much sympathy and anger and just a lot of visceral reactions we have to this character just on his performance alone. He is just unbelievable in this movie. A couple of the other smaller characters really stand out to me as well. One, Stavi from Cumtown. He is probably the sexiest Greek man I think that has ever lived. He's hilarious. One of my favorite comedians. He plays, I guess this is a slight spoiler alert. He portrays the most charismatic child molesting cop I can ever imagine. Like, for a child molesting cop, he is just very likable. And I don't think anyone else could have played that role. And no offense to him, I think that sounds pretty offensive, but if you know his work, you probably understand. Then I also want to give a shout out to Aiden Delbis, who portrays the other younger kidnapper partner to Jesse Plemons. He just gives an incredible performance. He is an actor with neurodivergence. He was actually cast, I believe, in Found for this movie through the Miracle Project. And he just gives an unbelievably layered, heartbreaking, funny, just all around just fantastic performance. There is a great article in the LA Times about him. I would encourage anyone to read. His name is Aiden Delbis. And I just really appreciate Yorgos for casting an actual actor that has this neurodivergence and exhibits a lot of the same barriers as the character in this movie does in real life. And Delbis just absolutely hits it out of the park. Just an incredible performance. I would really love to see him in things in the future. This movie is just so much fun too. It has a great message. I mean, a stark, disturbing message, but a great message. But even if you take away all the political, all of the conversations afterwards that it might inspire, it's just a really fun, really unpredictable, really disturbing, really great movie. Yorgos, one of the best directors currently working. I will watch anything he makes opening weekend. At number 4, I have Weapons, directed by Zach Krager, who originally got his start on The Whitest Kids You Know. Rest in peace, Trevor Moore. And this is his second feature after Barbarian. Now, with Weapons, I think similar to Sinners, this is exactly, in my opinion, what horror movies and blockbusters should be. Not only scary, but also, having multiple genres incorporated within the horror and just being unbelievably original. This, similar to Sinners, are my 2 favorite horror movies of the year because not only are they just very entertaining, well acted, just everything about them, performances, directing, writing are great, they are just unholy original. And I think what stands out about this movie to me, I could get into the plot, but I think if you're watching this, hopefully you've already seen it, so I don't have to explain it too much. But I will say my favorite part about this narrative and the movie in general is that I love movies that tell stories by interweaving different narratives and different perspectives in a way that's, it's not just cutting back and forth. It's telling a story and then a story and then a perspective, then a perspective. Obviously, the classic example of this would be, Pulp Fiction, but there's not a lot of really big movies made nowadays that are so character driven and character rich. And this movie all the characters in this movie are so well written, so well acted, so integral to the plot, but not that the way they are essential to the plot isn't really revealed until the far latter half of the movie, and you really don't know what's going on. And then when you think you know what's going on, then something else builds. It's just so entertaining and so exciting. Another great theater experience too. I think some of my favorite characters, one besides Amy Madigan's character, who I'm not going to reveal anything about in case you haven't seen it. She's getting a lot of Oscar buzz, but I think is very warranted. I also really like the character of James. I believe that is his name. His character, I think, is just one of the best. Even though you don't get into the roots of his character, or on a surface level, I should say, it's one of the best depictions of addiction and homelessness that I've seen in film in recent years. Not just how his character develops, because you don't know a lot about his character, but just the way it's portrayed. It's just very authentic, and you really feel like he's a real character. And that's something I really enjoy about all these characters, is that as over the top as the movie is at times, all these characters feel like real people placed into just an unbelievably surreal situation. I mentioned Amy Madigan already. She's fantastic, but I think my favorite performance in the movie is by Julia Glancy. She plays a school teacher who is the school teacher of the kids that go missing, and her portrayal of just this wounded person and struggling with alcoholism, immense guilt for a variety of reasons, trauma, and this overall encompassing savior complex. She just portrays this character so real, and she does so much with so little known about her character that her performance is very impressive. My pick for the best performance in a film filled with great performances. Easily top 5 favorite movie of the year for me. And I think everything that makes it so good is not that it's just entertaining, but there's an extreme rewatchability to it. I've actually only seen it once, and I know that I could see this several more times and pick up on new things and just be entertained in new ways each time I see it. So just I'm so impressed this year with how much original great horror we've had, and I really love the direction that studios are going in promoting original IPs, and it's just a great decade of horror so far, and I'm really excited to see what this inspires, and extremely excited to see Kreger's next movie as well. At number 3, I have Ari Aster's new movie, Eddington, which probably you may know if you haven't seen it already is known as kind of the COVID movie. It's, I believe, one of the first mainstream movies that makes the COVID pandemic a character. And I'll touch on a little bit more on that in just a second, but I do want to read something that I pulled out my notes app and wrote while watching this movie in the middle of the absurd second act. I just said the internet has connected humanity, brought cathartic awareness to evils past and present, and above all, has done irreparable damage to the human psyche. This movie is just a fantastic portrayal of how the world we live in, particularly how the internet and media connects us, has made us just collectively absolutely psychotic and brain dead and has really just, for better or worse, changed our society and is probably only at the tip of the iceberg of how unbelievably surreal and awful it's all going to get. This movie is very cynical, just like all of Ari Aster's work. He's got to be one of the most cynical directors that I've seen, at least all of his filmography that I've seen. I've seen all of his movies, but each one of his movies has been just very cynical at heart. This movie, I had a lot of controversy coming out. Similar to Weapons, it also is very much a character ensemble, which I love in movies, especially when the characters are all very interesting and well acted and just have a lot of, even if it's on the surface, they have a lot of nuance to who they are and a lot of mystery about their background. This movie nails its characters, hits it out of the park. I think that this movie was a bit controversial for some reasons. I think one is that on the surface, the description really sounds like it's biting off a lot more than it can chew. It has multiple characters. It's talking about COVID. It's talking about politics. But Aster writes and directs this movie in such a way that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not heavy-handed. It's very long, but it's super entertaining the entire time. It was controversial because it kind of betrayed this idea of being centrist and like trying to make fun of both sides. But I think if you go into this movie and have any sense of media literacy and you aren't just a baby brain, I think that you will obviously see that there's one side in particular this movie is calling out. I hate movies that think the protagonists, whatever they say, that's the message the movie is trying to send. Like, no, some of the characters in this movie are just unbelievably awful. Even if they're portrayed as sympathetic or maybe the good guy, they are just evil, stupid idiots. Especially calling out Joaquin Phoenix's character here. Phoenix is just unbelievably good in this movie. You really believe him in the role. You forget you're watching him. I think that even with take out the COVID, take out the politics, the message of his movie, I think you don't have to have a message to this movie because it's so well done and entertaining. But the message is really just about how we are all living, good or bad, we are all living in echo chambers, and COVID has just kind of destroyed our collective brains, and the internet has made it so much worse. There's so much morally gray in the world, and a lot of what our society does is goes out there and just takes sides and tries to find confidence in their opinion because the world is so scary and unknown. And even though some of those opinions are much more objectively right than others, it doesn't change the fact that a lot of us are just living with blinders on, and the world is a lot more gray than we want it to be because it being gray is very scary, very, very scary. It's just a movie you have to watch to really understand what message on the surface is trying to be told, because there's just so much to this movie. The ending is just hilarious. One of the characters, you find out about towards the end of the movie that it's been a side character. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's just so funny. The way this movie incorporates social media and TikToks towards the end is so funny. Also, what I really appreciate about this movie is Ari Aster. I've really enjoyed all of his movies so far. This is my favorite that I've seen. And what I love about Aster's work is that he takes so many risks. And, you know, on the surface, if you don't like his work, or you maybe don't look into what he's trying to talk about, it comes across as like he's just trying to portray shock value for the sake of shock value. I mean, you can look at The Dick Monster and Beau is Afraid, or the first 30 seconds of Midsommar. Jesus fucking Christ. That movie. But what he's really just so brilliant at is that he's so good at portraying true vulnerability in his work, more than any other director working today, I think. You know, he has common themes of identity, mommy issues, mental illness, and he's not just having these characters portray them in such a vulnerable way, which they do, especially Phoenix in his films, but he's just portraying himself, and you can see his own neuroses and all his life and his trauma on screen, and he's portraying his vulnerability and like just really putting it all out there. And I just think that he's one of the boldest directors working, one of the most creative and original. I can't really compare him to any other working director, even though a lot of his movies, you know, do have flaws. I don't think he's a perfect writer director. He is one of the most original and one of the most just commanding works. I want to see all of his movies as soon as possible when they come out, and this movie is no exception. Just it's a trip. I highly recommend Eddington. At number 2, I'm cheating just a little bit because it's actually technically a movie or two movies that came out over 2 decades ago, but Quentin Tarantino just released Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 as a single film titled Kill Bill: The Whole Bloody Affair. Also a director's cut, so there's more footage added to the 2 films. I remember seeing the original Volume 1 and Volume 2 several years ago and enjoying them, you know, both on their own and, you know, as an original and a sequel. And I really liked them a lot, but revisiting them several years later as one film in the theater was one of the most just entertaining and engrossing theater experiences I've ever had. This movie works so well, even at nearly 5 hours long. You're just completely immersed in Uma Thurman's character and her journey. There's so many great, tributes to other films, particularly kung fu films and action films, like the ones that David Carradine was in, 50 years ago. This movie is just so well done, so entertaining, and like other movies I've talked about on this list, has so many different genres incorporated, but at its core, it's a revenge story. It's a feminist story. It's an action movie, and it's a character that's just really, really well buoyed by just an incredible performance by Uma Thurman. I got to keep it simple because seeing this movie in the theater was just such a cool experience. And I have to give it the number 2 slot just because there's so much ambition that is pulled off so well in this film. Honestly, I think might be my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie now. Highly recommend going to see it in the theater if you still can. And my pick for number 1 movie of 2025 is a movie that I did not do a single write-up about leading up to this because I just want to talk off the rip because I love this movie so much. That, of course, being Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. This movie, it's maybe cliche to say, but it really is 2025 in a movie. I think if you're watching this, you probably have an idea of what it's about, but, the surface level plot of, an ex-revolutionary going back to save his daughter who's been kidnapped by an evil military operant. It doesn't do it justice because this movie has so many movies in one. I do want to just shout out, first of all, the performances in this movie. Sean Penn, and I don't think this is hyperbolic for me to say this, he gives one of the best villain performances I've ever seen in the movies. His character is, I think slightly based off, in terms of mannerisms and speech, RFK Jr., and some other, Trump shadow figures in his government right now, but it is wholly and a unique, scary, funny, pathetic, weird, creepy, unsettling, intense, just so much richness to this character who you really know nothing at all about. Sean Penn honestly gives the best performance I've ever seen him give. His character of Colonel Lockjaw is just instantly iconic. Incredible performance. I really hope he wins an Oscar. Absolutely deserved. Leonardo DiCaprio is incredible. He plays just this goofy, stupid idiot who has so much heart and so much passion for not only like his beliefs, but his family, his daughter. Leo just does a great job. Really, you don't see Leo at all in this role. He becomes his character. Chase Infinity as his daughter, I believe, is her debut performance. She is just incredible. Regina Hall portrays so much in a small role just with her face, and she really is the heart of this movie in a lot of ways, even though her role is very small. Benicio del Toro is so funny in this movie. It's one of the best performances one of the best roles he's been given in years. He knocks it out of the park. I think about his line where he says, a few small beers. I think about that probably every day since I've seen this. I don't even know who else I'm forgetting. Tiana Taylor is just so commanding in this movie. She is only in the first, spoiler maybe, only in the first third, if most of this movie, but her performance is so commanding and her character is so essential to the plot that it just, even every scene she's not in, like her presence is felt. She just also an incredible performance. Score is amazing. This is Paul Thomas Anderson's best movie, and that's like honestly a tall order for me because I love Magnolia. That movie's a masterpiece, and I think this movie even surpasses Magnolia in some of his other work. I don't even really know what to say about this movie. I have only seen it twice, but I want to watch it again. I don't even know. I'm gonna end on this note because I just want anyone who's watching who's not seen this movie, like Nick, to go watch it and just experience it. This movie, I said this a lot about other movies on this list. This was a great year for film, and this movie is just the kind of movie that gets me excited about the future of movies, because the fact that a movie like this can not only exist but have so much mass appeal and just incorporate so many different genres into it and still tie everything up in this neat, tidy little bow is just it's just awesome. One battle after another. Favorite movie of the year for a great year in movies. Thanks for having me, Nick. Peace.
Willie was also kind enough to give us some honorable mentions, so stay tuned for that at the end of the pod as well. Now is time for my most lovely co-host.
Thank you.
To give her opinion on the top 5 films of the year.
I would love to. Okay. So this was tough for me because we watched so many awesome movies together this year, and I watched quite a few movies alone this year. You know me. I love my true crime. I love my serial killer biopics. And I also really love a good, cheesy, emotional drama. And based on that, these are my top picks of 2025. Number 1. I know. Okay, don't judge me. But it's the Amy Bradley is Missing documentary film. I like documentaries, especially when they revolve around people going missing or dying. And I thought this documentary was actually really well done. It was a story that I had never heard about a young woman that went missing in 1998 on a cruise ship. Learned a lot about cruise ship laws, how cruise ships don't care about people, how cruise ships possibly assist in human trafficking. and a lot of other things like that. But it's a really awesome story. Well, it's not awesome, but it's a good story. It involves her family, and her family is still looking for her till this day. But I thought it was awesome, and the way I know it was good is because I continued to do research and sleuthing after I watched the documentary. So I did a lot of my own research. I was listening to podcasts. I was looking up YouTube videos to see where she is. And, you know, a lot of people think she's still alive, and it's just super interesting. So people, she was a young woman who people think was trafficked.
And if one of our listeners does know where Amy Bradley is, you can contact people who are looking for her still at Amy_Bradley_is_missing on Instagram, or at Help Find Amy Bradley on Facebook.
Yeah. Number 2 is Selena y los Dinos, and that came out, I think, in November. Selena y los Dinos, A Family's Legacy, and some people might know that it was just announced like a few weeks ago that her dad, Abraham, died. So you said that it was probably because they knew that he was going to die, so they decided to come out with this documentary beforehand.
Rest in peace, Abraham.
And rest in peace, Selena.
Rest in peace, Selena.
And I really liked it because it was this was a story that I grew up learning about, and you know, of course, I watched the famous Selena movie that came out when I was young. I think it was like 97 that it came out, 96 or 97. And yeah, there's just a lot of memories around that, and I know her story and her music, and I feel like I learned a lot about her story even more. And it was cool because they had every single family member basically in this documentary, and every band member too. And they didn't put too much emphasis on her death and her killer. It was mostly focused on her story and her rise to stardom, and how her dad contributed to that, like their fame and their success basically. But I really enjoyed it. Number 3, I put Weapons. I think what I loved most was the character building and seeing the director's understanding of human experience through the characters. So in this film, you really got to know the characters through small choices or behaviors that not everyone would notice. I don't know. I think that's a really important thing to me when I'm watching a film, is like the character development and like getting to know who these people are. So through like small choices, we got to learn about Justine. Like I picked up on Justine, the main character's alcoholism, and the gay couple's like grocery preferences. Remember when they were like, the gay couple was in the store, like they just bought junk food basically, but it was kind of cute.
They're eating hot dogs in front of the TV on the tray. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the really energetic, my favorite scene of that whole movie, which is probably what put it on my top 5, was the scene with the homeless guy, unhoused guy, and how it kind of showed life from his perspective as this guy who was just like living on the streets, but who saw things that was important and like valid information, but nobody believed him because he was just a homeless guy, you know?
Yes, and we did talk about it. I really loved how they made sure that it was realistic without being too optimistic or too negative. So it showed him as a person without also sugarcoating and making him seem impossibly wholesome.
Right.
It gave you the mix of both.
Yeah, because he was like still on drugs, and you know, he was breaking into people's houses and stuff like that. But yeah, it gave you a more human perspective, I guess. And I really liked that. Number 4 is Boyhood, which I had never seen until this year. And I think I just learned about it this year too. Like, I didn't even know this movie existed. I didn't know that it took place over 10 years. So for those of you who haven't seen it, like I said, it's a film that takes place over 10 years, and it's sort of about this young boy and his development through the years from, I don't know, like from the age of 6 to 16, and sort of the things that he sees through his family and his experiences growing up and with school and things like that. And it made me cry a few times just thinking about my own sons and the things that they will experience throughout their life. And then also thinking about my brothers and what I saw them experiencing. So that, yeah, I really enjoyed that movie a lot. And then number 5, this is not a movie. And it's Monster, the Ed Gein story, which is the Monster is the Netflix series by Ryan Murphy. He also did the Jeffrey Dahmer one a few years ago. And it's weird because for this show and these series that Ryan Murphy does, I know I like them, but I can't ever, I feel like I can't ever pinpoint what it is I like about them. But you know, as I've thought about it more, I think that I like it because Ryan Murphy can take such a horribly dark story and bring some educational and humorous aspects to it. I feel like a lot of people give Ryan Murphy crap because they think he is spotlighting these people. But if you watch the series, you actually get an idea of how disturbed and grim and horrible their perspective was as a serial killer. And he does incorporate things about their childhood, which can give you reasons as to why these people ended up the way that they did. So I really enjoyed these monster series by Ryan Murphy because I think he really wants audiences to understand that these people usually are not born this way. Some of them are, I think. And there are many factors as to why someone becomes a disturbed serial killer. But I want you to know that when you're watching this show, like, well, for me, when I'm watching this show, I feel like I'm in this sad, grim world with the main character, and you actually really hate it. But I think that's why I kind of like it, is because I hate it so much, and you just can't stop watching because it's like this feeling it gives off. I don't know. It makes you feel like, I can't explain it. It's almost like you're in a wet, moldy environment.
Okay.
Which I feel like you like that feeling in movies.
It's like the similar reason why you'd watch a movie like Baskin, where everything just gets really nasty and gnarly, and it's not like just the effects, but it's like the feeling of like you've stepped into this like awful place. It gives you almost an appreciation for how not awful things really are.
Yeah, it's like sad and dark and gross and depressing. And what's the guy's name who did it? The main guy who did Ed Gein.
Oh, I see. This is where I only know him as Jax from Sons of Anarchy.
Okay. But he did a really good job, and I think something that I really enjoy is the way that Ryan Murphy encourages these actors to transform into these people. Like, I have a lot of empathy for the people who are playing these characters because I cannot imagine what it must be like to go to that headspace, you know, to play this serial killer. Because you really, like, when you're acting, you really want to try to be that character, right? Like, you're putting yourself into it. But that, to me, is fascinating.
Charlie Hunnam.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say this. When you were watching Monster, you got your mom to watch Monster as well. And one night I was in the office far too late, and it was about 2 a.m, and I went out to go get a drink, and I walked into the living room, and all I remember is watching Ed Gein's character in a mask dancing on the screen at 2 a.m, and that was all I saw. And I will tell you this much: the imagery is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and for those of you who think it might highlight or spotlight the serial killer, I'll tell you, I don't think it does. I think I think Ryan Murphy does a good job at making them look really bad. Like, he'll give you the background info about them to try to educate you about their lived experiences, as you know, to teach you why they might have ended up a serial killer. But you do not like these characters when you watch these shows.
Well, thank you, Janice. I appreciate you giving your top 5. Of course, as film watchers and additional crew, and as you can tell here, we're not strictly film watchers. You watch TV, you watch other shows, you watch documentaries. This is what it is to be someone who enjoys all of this. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, finally, I will give 2 lists here. The first will be my top 5 favorite films released in 2025. If you want films 6 through 10, I also have a list of video games. Listen at the end with Willie's at the end. I'll be packing a bunch of lists. So if you are interested in the list part, after this, and when we get into the review, at the end we'll have a bunch more lists. So, but here are my top 5 favorite films released in 2025. Number 1. I'm making a crazy choice right here, because there is no other choice. By Park Chan-wook. This is a film made by the director of Old Boy, I Saw the Devil, The Handmaiden. Just a wonderful director. And it is a scorching hot take on capitalism and what it means to base your whole life around having a job. It is funny, it is emotional, it is action-packed, and it is beautiful. It's just a phenomenal film. Well made. Number 2. Weapons by Zach Kreger. I feel like there was a little bit of a downturn that this movie took in the public eye after it came out, and that it wasn't enough. But I feel like this is just what happens with horror films: is people really fall in love with them, and then they find reasons to no longer like them as much as they did because they don't believe it tells a story that's as deep as it needs to be. However, I will say, as far as entertainment goes and as far as cinematic, I didn't have a better time at the theaters than watching Weapons.
It was really good.
I walked out shocked at how much I loved the film that I saw.
I liked it a lot too.
Yeah.
A lot of emotional depth, good visuals.
Mm-hmm. It didn't.
Yeah.
Like, one complaint I hear with a lot of these films is that it wasn't scary, but like horror films just in general don't really scare me anymore. It's more about like what they put out there as far as entertainment value goes. And Weapons was both entertaining comedically. It had a very emotional story regarding the small child. And the small child, unfortunately, looks exactly like our child. So I think it connected on a very deep level very immediately for me. And it was an amazing. I love that film.
I think the idea of having somebody running at you and only you and wanting to kill you and only you is like the scariest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because like when what was her name? The aunt. She was the aunt.
Aunt May. I think that's wrong. That's Spider-Man.
Was doing the witchcraft, and her witchcraft could basically possess. She put people under a spell and possess them to kill whoever she wanted them to kill, basically. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was horrifying. That she Gladys, Aunt Gladys, and that was horrifying when they showed the scenes where those people were running like the weird stick.
They were doing the Naruto run, which is so funny to me. It's like something's ripped straight from an anime show that's really popular. And
Really?
Yeah, and it's so funny to me, but also like that mixture that Zach Cregger is able to come up with of the horror and the comedy of the aspects, where you're laughing at something that's also at the same time just awful. It just made for a wonderful viewing opportunity.
Yeah, there were a lot of comedy moments. I liked that a lot.
My number 3 film is Begonia by Yorgos Lanthimos. Now, Begonia was a film that Janice and I watched together, and we watched it as part of a double header in the theaters that we went to because we got stuck in traffic for far too long, and we missed the first 30 minutes of the movie Keeper, so it was like watching a TV episode. So then we were like, okay, we got to go see another movie. That doesn't count. And then we watched Begonia going in blind. And it was, again, a phenomenal movie. Another scorching take kind of on how capitalisms and healthcare and mental health care are all just kind of not taken seriously until they're very serious. Mixed with social commentary about how maybe the only way to save the planet is to remove people.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons did really good at playing a crazy, slightly schizo dude.
For what it's worth, if I were on the Oscar panel, Jesse Plemons would 100% get my vote for Best Leading Actor at this moment.
I hope he gets an Oscar.
That would be amazing because we both worked with folks with severe persistent mental health illness who have been in bad places and have been in bad shapes and bad, like not great ways of mind, and he nailed it. I've never seen an actor who came across it felt very genuine. And also I want to remember his name as I'm going to say it because his friend, his buddy, his brother, who was in this as well, Aiden Delbus, who played Don, his brother, also did a phenomenal job acting. He had one of the best moments with eye acting that I've seen in cinema recently. It told me the next scene and it made me immediately just devastated prior to anything happening, and it was just through the physicality of his acting. Wonderful film. I can't say more about it. You should go watch it if you haven't seen it. My number 4 film will be Mickey 17 by Bong Joon-ho. Now, Mickey 17 is a film that I know got a lot of backlash, specifically in it's kind of more simplistic portrayals of the future. Mark Ruffalo's character, who is clearly channeling Trump in his acting. However, I love the world building in this film, and I really enjoyed just it was a full encompassing movie that had it all. Again, it was a very awesome cinematic experience. It looked very good. Robert Pattinson really sold it. And just all the acting throughout, phenomenal. So Mickey 17 is one of these movies that I think got bashed unfairly at the time.
I want to see that.
We should watch it.
Yeah.
And number 5, I will give One Battle After Another by Paul Thomas Anderson the nod here. And the reason I'm going to give this a nod is that it's a competent, well-done movie with a great acting even, and a good story that has a lot of twists and turns that keep it very interesting. And also, the important part for me is that this movie has a very clear and obvious message in it that's really important for the times that we live in right now. When everything has been so depressing and so soul-sucking and so hard to go through sometimes this year as far as, any of the larger news that we hear. This movie ended on a positive note by showing that even if it's all soul-sucking and it hurts, there's still a way forward as long as we include the younger generation. There's always a way forward. Mm-hmm. It's a very important message. It packed in a very competent package. Okay, and now for my final list. I'll go through this one a little bit quicker. This is going to be the top 5 films that Additional Crew reviewed in 2025. The Additional Crew Film Review Awards go to, and I'm going to start at 5, go to 1. Number 5, Brazil, from 1985 by Terry Gilliam. Number 4, Office Space, 1999 by Mike Judge. Number 3, Near Dark, 1987 by Catherine Bigelow. Number 2, The Wicker Man, 1973 by Robin Hardy. And number 1, Inland Empire, 2006 by David Lynch. I hope people found solace in the art that was created and enjoyed during the year 2025. It was a rough year for so many people. If you feel like things have gone crazy, just know you are not alone. However, may we continue to find connection and hope in the art that we surround ourselves with. Janice, do you have anything you'd like to add before we move away from 2025 and find ourselves born anew in 2026?
Well, since we're on the topic of movies and creating things, I think I would say just create more art with your friends and family. I think creating art is one of the best ways to connect with others, to express yourself, to give something to the world that did not exist before, because every single piece of art that's created was non-existent before, and a human created it. And it's just a way to take yourself away from all of the craziness and chaos that's happening in the world, and a good way to remove yourself while just creating something with your hands and your brain. So, and I think that's one of the coolest things, because I think as humans are naturally creators. Like every single thing around us is a piece of art, whether it's your house or your or a toilet paper roll. It was all created by a human being. We are creators, and those who don't think that you are a creative person, I highly doubt that. So go do more art.
And if you're ever worried about what the grind will bring you and what'll happen if you stop to make something like art, go watch the film No Other Choice. Go watch the film One Battle After Another and find out what happens if you dedicate your life solely to the grind.
Be weird. Do art.
Furthermore, I will just say this, and this is the last part of this celebration of the year, and we'll get into our review after this. But I do want to say thank you to everyone who helped me put this together. Like I've been sitting here doing this. Janice has been integral to the background of it. If you like any of the background, that's her. Adam has joined on as the full-time co-host. I didn't know Adam before I did the first episode with him. I had only spoken to him on the phone like twice, and he gave me tips on how to find some VHS rare stuff. So awesome. Like Peter, we met through our kids group. Thank you, Peter, for helping me out and joining on with these films and like coming up with the courage to put your opinion out there. Andrew, of course, he helped me create this, and life changes and things go different ways. But thank you, Andrew, for getting this ball rolling and start it. Just Willie, of course, Willie's awesome. Just go watch our Double Drinkers. Willie's awesome. Willie's amazing. If you need to know more about Willie and my connection, go watch Double Drinkers. We talk every week for hours. Awesome guy.
Yeah, he is.
And then Val, great friend. Thank you, Val, for joining on. I just appreciate this. And I will tell you this. If you think you can't do it, you just start doing it, and all of a sudden you'll find yourself getting connections with people that you didn't think you'd ever get to meet before. So enjoy. Now,
do it for yourself.
Do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Because ain't no one going to do it for you. All right, so we are here with The Last Supper from 2005. Now, that is it was kind of a hard movie to find because there's a lot of movies named The Last Supper because it's like a pretty religious thing, The Last Supper, that is. However, the one from 2005 stands out as being particularly different because it's a Japanese film about cannibalism. And if you see the cover of this film, you'll immediately know it's a Japanese film about cannibalism. If you look over at my right shoulder, it might be your left, there's a picture of a lady's head on a plate, and that is the cover picture of this film. So it's a film by Osamu Fukutani. He directed and he wrote it. He also had writing help from Kei Oishi. And as I always do, I'm an unfortunate American that's not cultured. I'm attempting to be cultured in certain things, but if I mispronounce names, it's not from lack of trying. I promise you that. It's from pure straight American ignorance, and I am trying my best. But
You're doing a good job.
The film is available in totality on YouTube. You watch it in an English dub with Spanish subtitles. It's a fun kind of experience. Other than that, it's available on DVD. It's not on Blu-ray, and as far as I could tell, it wasn't on any streaming services. So it is a relatively difficult movie to find. However, with that said, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the movie itself. I'm gonna start off we'll list some characters. I'll be real with you. Besides the doctor, Kotorida, I don't Kotorida, which when you hear it as Kotorida once, it's hard not to hear it that way anymore. There was Hitomi Miwa playing Amy, Ayaka Maeda playing Rumi, Fumina Hara playing Saki, and Katsuya Kobayashi playing Detective Shimoda. I feel so. Answer me this, okay? Because I'm a dude and I don't want to be unfortunate in this. Okay. I feel like they didn't really do the female characters a lot of justice in that I don't really know any of their names. Yeah. I definitely know the dudes' names, which is something that happens in films like this where I'm like, I know these guys' names, but I don't know the ladies' names. If you showed me the character, I wouldn't be able to say, that's right, she was Saki in this movie, or that's right, she was Sumi in this movie.
I was thinking about that actually on the way back here today, and because yesterday we were talking about how it was hard to tell who was who, and we're like, okay, was that the same lady who did that thing, And I almost feel like they did that on purpose to play into the kind of surreal distortment. Like, they didn't tell you the names of the female characters because they wanted you to be confused.
They wanted you to feel that a little bit.
Because I think all of the female characters looked somewhat similar. They had similar face shapes. They had similar eyes and hair, and like their hair changed. I think some of the characters started out with certain type of hair, like a certain style, and then at the end of the movie they had like the same hairstyle as like another character. So I feel like they were messing with us.
Right. It's like I almost know their job roles better than who they are. So the main squeeze was I want to guess that was Amy, and she was the reporter. Mm-hmm. And then the assistant, the dental hygienist, I assume it would be. She's not a dentist. What am I talking about?
Nurse?
The nurse, or she. I think that was Rumi. And then Saki, she may have been the person from the foreign country that he went to. I assumed it was Thailand, but I actually don't remember them saying that in the film at all. So that would be an assumption on my part. So let's talk about the story.
I just want to say, even on IMDb, they don't have the character name under everybody.
Yeah, I'm doing this off the top of my head. If it makes anyone feel a little better.
So I feel like it was on purpose.
And of course, you have Dr. Kotorida, who is the main character of this, so you do know him. And then Detective Shimoda, the reason why he's so easy to tell apart is, as you'll get into this, and as we'll talk about a little bit more, he's got a disgusting facial issue because we'll wait a second on that.
Do they go into that?
They do go into that.
Oh, they did. Okay. Why was I forgetting what that was? Okay.
Yeah, the facial issue and him itching himself ended up being a fairly... not big plot part, but it was a plot part. So the story in this film, in ways, if I put myself back into the time of 2005, the story in this film would probably be very shocking. And it's very straight up. A guy who works at a plastic surgery decides one day, why not take home some of the fat and just eat it and see what happens?
The most disturbing scenes were the fat eating scene.
He's just grilling the fat, and it turns into roast beef somehow, or ground beef. Mm-hmm. It's gnarly.
It's what you would it's what you would imagine when you're doing liposuction with the big old needle.
Huh.
and you suck up all the fat. However you visualize that in your head, put it on a plate, or we'll fry it up first and then put it on a plate.
So I'm gonna give an immediate analog to this for folks in the States who haven't watched this film or are still listening to this for some reason. If you've watched the Hannibal TV series, I have a respect for this film just for the fact that I think the Hannibal TV series took a lot from this film. And it was clear because in this movie, every time they made meals out of the human meat, they did manage to make it look pretty good. And that's the disgusting part, is you're disturbed because you're like, that doesn't look bad, but it's human.
You thought when that like flaccid piece of steak was on the plate that it looked good?
No, well, it was the issue wasn't that. It was that because the meat was a little bit too pale, and I think they did that on purpose, right, to make it look different. But when they were cooking it and it was seasoned and stuff, it's like that would probably be actually good, whatever they were really making. But knowing that it's human and even having that in the back of your mind, it's disturbing, right? So you get like disgusted, and I think the disgust is amplified by the fact that at one point your body's like, that looks kind of good. You hear in stories all the time of like people smelling cooking human or burning human. That smells like pork. And then like, I read a lot of horror books. Maybe it's just me, but they'll talk about how like the most disgusting part is that it smells good.
Yeah.
That's the part that really makes people sick, is that they're like, oh, that smells good to me. And I know that this is cannibalism. So that's awful. And now I'll throw up because how can I live with this thought in my head?
It looked like Salisbury steak with no gravy.
Yeah, that is true.
Which did not look good to me.
It's you know what? No, now that you're saying this, the cooked food ultimately didn't look very good, but the cooking looked good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it was like, not the most pretty thing when it was on the plate.
No, because I'm imagining now in my head the sausages in this movie, and they didn't look very good. Yeah. Those were kind of nasty looking sausages. Anyway.
I mean, you like Salisbury steak too.
I do, but they did a good job of making the meat look pale. All the meat looked very pale. I don't know if that's like what human meat looks like. And if you do know, don't tell me. I don't.
So it was like ugly meat, but they made it out to be the most delicious thing ever.
Yeah.
And I actually talk about that in
we'll get to
a little bit.
So the story itself, like we find out that this guy, he has been wanting to do this thing, and he eventually goes to a foreign country. Like I said, I assume it's Thailand because that makes sense to me, but I don't think it ever says exactly where he is going, so that's an assumption. And he finds this group of people who are all like, yeah, well, we do it willingly, so it's cool. And they, like she can tell that he wants the human meat by eye contact in a club. She's all like, whoa, I'm rolling, and like you just look like you're trying to eat that human meat. So
you see the same thing as me.
And she tests it out. She's like, let's go, we're gonna get frisky, but I'm also gonna keep fighting you over and over again just to see if like you're into that or not.
Draw blood.
Yeah, multiple times. So
tasty.
He purchases the rights to eat her independently, and from there he's like, this is it, I love this, I gotta keep doing this. He can't eat otherwise meat. He gets sick and he throws up if he starts eating pork or beef. So this is like, it's past obsession at this point. Now it's just a way to live. So he has to eat the meat to stay alive.
Yeah, every other kind of meat is disgusting to him. There's like a whole montage of his experience eating meat, and human meat and like animal meat.
Yeah. So that's kind of the gist of the story. The story gets a little bit stranger because a cop ends up finding out about him, but the cop is also a cannibal, and the cop has been eating dead bodies that are rotting, so he has a skin disease. and then he gets to make food for a wedding. Which, shockingly, the tagline and synopsis for this movie on IMDb gives away the whole entire plot. So you have to be a little bit careful when you're reading those things, because like the whole thing is there. It's all there. But
Lots of spoilers.
Immediately as soon as you open the page. So
not cool.
I don't think that the story itself can be seen as the strong point of this film. Really, there's massive plot holes that I don't think make sense. And I feel like it's going a lot for surrealism, so it's not trying to attach everything to reality as much as it is just trying to create this character in front of you of Dr. Kotorida and how his cannibalism fits into his life. Biggest plot hole, though, and I have to get this off my chest, is that this guy has this fridge full of human parts, and it's in his kitchen. It's in his kitchen. It's like a little off to the side, but it's in his kitchen.
But the handle didn't work. The handle, anytime you open it, the handle broke off. So
it's true. You just kicked it a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
It's true.
But this is the biggest plot hole, is that this guy, very successful, he's a well-known chef. He's also a very well-known plastic surgeon. He can't figure out a way to buy a lock for his fridge.
Yeah, there were a few scenes where it was like somebody was about to open the fridge and the handle broke off, or
he just straight up yelled at him, "Don't open it!"
Yeah, really suspicious. I would be weirded out if my friend didn't want me to open their fridge.
Okay, let me brainstorm with you real quick. What are legitimate reasons that someone would have to yell at you not to open their fridge?
Maybe you have really old moldy cake in there.
So embarrassment over old moldy cake. I can
stains on, like, nasty stains from old food.
Nasty stains.
Which I have seen in some of my friends' houses. You can tell a lot about a person by what their fridge looks like on the inside. Like, if they are nasty,
their fridge is nasty. Now,
but it's, yeah, I know.
How likely is that in the event that you also have a fridge that's very clean, tidy, and organized specifically for people? Like, you're like, this is my guest fridge, but that's my bachelor fridge. I don't care about that one at all, and yet that is still in the kitchen. I don't know. It's just one of those things.
You should see Sharon's fridge.
And here, look, I'm not hating at all. I've got 2 very little kids. That means every time we try cleaning anything, it gets dirty immediately afterwards. So trust me, no hate.
Our fridge is just stocked to the brim with a bunch of crap. It's not dirty though. But you're right. Yeah, I think you can tell a lot about a person by what's in their fridge, and if they're suspicious about their fridge, that's
he's like a very chill dude until someone tries to touch his fridge. Then he's very aggressive. And I think that's where I'd be like, okay, brother, like, what is going on? You sound like you were about to like stab me over trying to open your fridge.
It's just a bunch of glass jars with heads. That's all.
And that's the thing, is that
very Ed Gein of him.
This is probably my issue with watching too many movies, is that that's exactly where my mind would go first. I'd be like, you don't want me to open that fridge? You got body parts in there, brother. I know it. I know.
Something's brewing.
But I suppose that's neither here nor there. There are themes in this film that we need to discuss, because one of the main themes is the mixture of like this food and eroticism. The first scene in this, is it the first scene, or do they have the reporters there first?
I thought the first scene was with the reporters, wasn't it?
I think that the first scene might actually be the head chop, when she's like, when he's like, I want to eat you, and she's like, please eat me. Yes. And it's obviously dripping with like sexual tension.
The guts too. Was that the first scene?
I don't think the guts. I think he just chopped her head off and the blood sprayed on the wall, and then it's cut to the red cabinets.
Oh, right. Okay. The guts. Yeah. The guts scene was one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, that was pretty.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So the tagline of the film talks about eating someone is the ultimate act of love. The "please eat me" part is clearly a euphemism. Can the literal forbidden fruit analogy be ignored when you're talking about this movie? Because there's in the paintings there's like a lot of Christian imagery that's going on behind them. This is like the one realm that I think pretty much no one is going to tell you is morally okay. So this is really the forbidden fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he's the only one who's eating it and he's called God multiple times connects it all to me. Is that this is just like, okay, so he's the guy who ate the forbidden fruit and he's the one being worshipped for having done it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the meat itself is also worshipped in this movie, which, yeah, is something else that I get into later. But
if you're like just a casual friend of someone and you're eating the meat pretty regularly at their house and you ask them where they got it and they say, I can't tell you, how does that make you feel?
I would not eat it. That would be like, that's so weird. I can't tell you my source, is what he said over and over again. And it's like, why can't you tell me your source? Like, why would I eat this meat if I don't know where it came from? And it's almost just kind of disturbing how much people like it. Because like we were saying earlier, like, it's just kind of this ugly piece of meat. It looks like Salisbury steak that you get out of like those box dinners, but with no gravy on it. And people are like salivating, like, this is the best meal I've ever had in my whole life. It's the most delicious thing ever. And then, I don't know. It's just interesting because your brain like can't match the visual with the emotional that they're trying to convey over this piece of meat.
and it's so funny to me because it's like, like when the reporter comes over, maybe like a quarter of the way through the movie, maybe a little bit deeper than that. But she comes in and she's like, oh, I'm just here to say hi and check in on you. And he's like, okay, would you like some tea? And she wants some tea. And she's clearly just there to eat breakfast. Like, she's just staring at that bacon, right? And she's like, can I try this? And you like, it does the flash over to the bacon, and it looks undercooked to me, but maybe that's how people prefer to eat it. I don't know. I'm not a cuisine master. But then she proceeds to eat the whole entire thing of bacon. And I think that's also a question where she asks, where do you get this meat? And he's got this big old bag of body parts just sitting on the floor.
They're using him for his meat.
Yeah. Because with the reporter who does a story on him, they're not doing a story on him like for being a super successful and awesome plastic surgeon. They're doing a story on him for being a chef. It tracks in a lot of ways, but also I think it has a lot of plot holes just based on the way it's set up. Like, your suspension of disbelief in this character and the people around him has to be so high on assuming they're so stupid that they don't ever really connect any dots.
That's true. Yeah. It's like, how can you be so stupid that you don't realize? But then we were also talking about the dubbing, right?
Yeah.
So we were watching the movie English dubbed. You know, it was clearly not filmed in English. It was filmed in Japanese, I'm sure. And it was English voice actors that were speaking. And a lot of what they were saying, it was just so intense in English language. I'm like, that cannot be what they were actually saying, you know? So I feel like that ties into it.
Yeah. That absolutely could be. I was also thinking about the way he kind of gave himself away right at the beginning to the reporter, where he's like, oh, what if I told you it was human meat?
Like a joke.
Wink. He's like, we call this one the daughter of an Eskimo in Alaska or something like that. And it's like, oh, What?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Like, and they don't even, you know, maybe polite society, they just don't question him. It kind of leads me to the second question here is do you think that, like, success in specific jobs can mask absolutely abhorrent behavior like this? And do you think that, like, there are people out there who just use their success to get away with whatever they want? That's a very
my
large
God.
question. I know that's too obvious.
100%. Yeah.
Do you think there's
so many wealthy people
Yeah.
in leadership
yeah.
get away with way too much?
I said it and I immediately started thinking about all the lizard people that we see all over the news all the time, and I'm like, yeah, duh.
Oh yeah, it's a dark world out there.
And do you think, like, these people are, like, very, because I mean, like, what was it? I think it was like Peter Thiel or one of those tech bros who was all like, I use the blood of my son to renew my blood every other day. And just everyone's like, yeah, I guess that's right. It was pretty normal. We'll just move on from that one. And it's like, oh, he's a vampire. What do you mean move on from that one?
Are you talking about politics?
Vaguely.
Okay.
A billionaire who uses blood to refresh his blood and
Yeah.
make himself younger via blood. Crazy thing. Sounds like vampirism to me. Maybe he is a vampire. Anyway.
Yeah, well, as we know and we have seen as normal people, the rich and wealthy, you know, go to lengths to make their lives more interesting. Because when you already have everything you want, you know, there's some things money can't buy. Well, I guess haven't bought yet until you bought it, such as human meat. And
willing human meat. That's, you know, crazy.
To be somebody who's able to purchase human meat. You got one on everybody else in the world, that's for sure.
you know what makes Dr. Kotorida truly a monster is the fact that he found a place where you can ethically, bear with me on here, I'm talking about within the constraints of the movie universe, not in general. But he found a place that you can more ethically purchase human meat, and he still decided that he wanted to kill the people around him.
Oh, the place where the people willingly gave themselves up for this murderous performance because they wanted to be killed in front of a live audience and then eaten.
Yeah, and they do explain the reason why that would benefit them is because they can send the money to their family afterwards.
Oh, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Although I will say, so it's $30,000 if you wanted to be the sole eater of a person. After inflation in 2025, that's $51,000. So if you think $51,000 is worth giving up sole proprietorship of your body after you die, and it's not after you die, dying to give up sole proprietorship of your body.
That's really doesn't seem like that much money though for a whole life.
No, and maybe the dubbing had some conversion issues because I don't think that they don't use dollars, but in the dubbing they definitely said dollars. So, other than that, the food and sex link, we didn't really get into that, but it is heavy in this movie. It is very clear that, like, him eating them is an act of sex. I think
you smell so good.
You heard the movies that she likes. So you watch out for me, guys.
Delicious.
When he is making love to women in this movie, he is also at the same time remembering what it's like to get their meat ready to eat. So
all the visuals in his head.
I've been struggling to try to figure out what this means. Like, is there a deeper meaning to this?
What? Okay. That's interesting. A deeper meaning to the sexual preferences towards meat?
Yeah, that's a weird question when you say it that way.
Human meat. I should be clear.
Like the eroticism behind the meat, right? Like what part of the meat do you think it is that he's actually drawn to? Is it the act of killing? So then he's just kind of like this standard serial killer who gets off on killing people, and that's why he does it, because that's a pretty standard serial killer MO. Or is it that like something about the eating of a person is erotic? Like, could someone, because he talks about also like eating beef and pork as being bestial, so he compares eating animals as to bestiality.
You know, I don't know what it's like to be sexually attracted to a slab of meat.
And I want that on the record.
I don't know what that's like. But I imagine for people who experience that it's hard for them. I don't know. They must have a lot of shit stuff that they're dealing with, and they just want their meat. I mean, I don't know.
I think for Christmas, someone sent us like a butcher's box. Do you think the people... This is getting too personal. Do you think the people who sent that were like, well, no, okay, I have
listening.
to. Yeah, I have to slow my roll on that one because it's getting that'll get too weird.
Okay, so what was your question though?
Like, do you think that there's like some deeper meaning behind tying this food to the erotic nature that he ties it to? So like, do you think that they're saying that like by eating the lifeblood of, or the body of, see, I'm coming back to Christian. As I'm saying this, I'm losing myself a little bit because I'm having thoughts about how you eat the body of Christ all the time if you're at church.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Maybe what he's saying is like by getting the sustenance from the food, they are now providing you the ultimate act of love.
Yeah, I mean, the movie is called The Last Supper.
Yeah.
And is that in the Bible? Is that
not in this version?
Drinking the blood of Christ, like what does that mean? You know more about the Bible than I do.
It's a communion thing, so it's like based around the idea of getting together and talking, celebrating Christ, and celebrating his life and his role, and getting him into like physically into you. So I guess in that way, it makes more sense. There's a book I read called Tender is the Flesh, which deals with this a lot. The idea of eating humans, because all animals are toxic to people at some point, and they decide instead of getting rid of meat, we're going to eat people.
I don't want to make assumptions, but I work with a lot of professors, and a lot of them say research is me search. So this conversation I can't help but think about the director and his thoughts, and you know, because the director or the writer, is it the same person? I don't remember.
Yeah, it is.
And
he had help writing it.
How they're depicting their thoughts, basically conveying their thoughts and their ideas through film, through art. A lot of the times art is a way to express yourself. So there must be something there in that director's mind that makes him think about these things in this certain way, not making assumptions. And I am also, I don't know what the right word is to say, not intrigued, fascinated, I don't know. But I know that people like serial killers like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer also have had similar views on like eating human meat and human flesh and organs, and it's like sexually stimulating to them from what I've read and seen in like documentaries. So I think that it is a thing. It is a thing to to like, enjoy
like there's nothing more intimate, there's nothing more like to the sustenance of a person than love, right? I mean, like, because with the director and the writer, I could easily see this also being some analogy for veganism. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if you're not willing to eat humans, why are we eating anything else? Especially when he talks about the bestial nature of eating animals.
Wow.
But I you know, like that's a stretch. That's a stretch. That's me hoping for normalcy out of this. Realistically, did the story
And women specifically, if you're thinking about it.
Yeah, because we didn't see a dude get eaten.
Which Ed Gein also killed women specifically. They wore their skin.
Now in this one, we don't have some crazy backstory about this guy's mom or about like someone who dumped him or anything like that.
Maybe he wanted to be a woman, so he thought he could be closer to a woman by eating meat.
Maybe. I think that what I'll come away with is this: the story doesn't give me exactly enough to work out what it wants me to get from this film. It does provide me with a couple of interesting thought points, but if like I was at the time, this was probably very over the top. So, you know, you can't have too much story when you're going so crazy deep. But now, like, just check out the book Tenders of the Flesh if you wanted to go down these lines of thinking more, because it's not a very long book. If you listen to an audiobook, it's only 6 hours, but it's all about a society that has moved on to eating humans, and what that means for the psyche of the people.
Tender.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about with the story?
I don't think so. Maybe we'll get more into it as we keep going.
Yeah, we'll hear more of it, I'm sure. Let's talk about the acting. And I've said this multiple times. When you watch a film, and first off, dubbing is hard because for acting and rating acting with a dub, you're rating both the physical acting of the person who's actually in the film, and then you're rating the vocal intonations of the person who's doing the dub.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I haven't found a case where this isn't true. The vocal intonations of the people who were doing dubs are almost just always off. They're just not great. They're pretty bad. They're like soap opera level, and this is no exception. It's pretty bad.
Horrible voice actors.
Yeah. This also lends credence to the like lines that were being translated, like "Our fates are tied together."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh boy, okay.
And I think just language translates differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we were also talking about how, like, you know, Japan has been around way longer than the US. You know, they have stronger, richer, deeper cultural traditions and ties, I'm sure. And it probably comes through in their language a lot more than we're used to, because, you know, us Americans are just sociopaths, I guess, with no, like, anyway.
We have multiple dialects and all that, too.
So, yeah, that was an interesting thing to see, where it's like the character was saying something very specific, or, you know, and probably, I don't know, saying something different, but the American voiceover sounded super intense, but maybe in their language that's not such an intense thing to say. But I think in the way we would say it, it's like, okay, that's not something you just say out of pocket. You know?
Yeah. And it's difficult for me, because even if we were watching the dubbed over version and it wasn't in the original language, we'd still be reading the subtitles at that point. And with vocal intonation in a foreign language, it's also really difficult to understand exactly what is being portrayed when you don't understand the language. So, like, I'm just looking at the physical acting of the people in the film was fine. I didn't feel like any of them really knocked it out of the park. The physical acting wasn't bad. It was B movie level, you know, and what we're watching is clearly B movie budget.
Yeah.
I felt okay. The voiceover it did its job, but the vocal intonation is just off. It's just bad.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, there's nobody who I could look at and be like, oh, they're voice actors. No, they all did pretty terrible.
Right, and even if we were to hear it be spoken in Japanese and then just read the subtitles, I think that would have been more effective. and we would have actually been able to hear the tone in their voices, you know, even though they were speaking another language. So I think maybe our ratings would have been higher.
Yeah, a future watch would definitely be watching it in its original language. However, like I said, as far as immediate availability of a film, especially during the holiday times, like you can't order the DVD and it gets here on time. You watch the YouTube video, and it's got a crazy dub. I don't feel the need to just bash on these guys' voice acting that much. Do you? You just want to move on from acting? Just plow right ahead here.
I mean, that was like a huge thing in the movie, but you know.
Yeah, like I said,
that's all we could find. Yeah. It was on YouTube.
I will go ahead and say this: the acting wasn't enough to deter the parts of this film that are going to. I'm going to end up. We'll get there when I get the review. I shouldn't say it. We'll just wait. Let's move forward. Let's talk about cinematography and creativity, because this is the fun part to talk about in this film. The first scene hits you with a table and a chair covered in a white cloth, glowing green.
It was good.
And
it was nice.
I'll go ahead and say this: the aesthetic on this film, maybe not in every shot, but in a lot of the shots, is phenomenal. They have a theme they're going for, and they hit it, and it feels Lynchian at times. And whatever budget they were working with, because it couldn't have been much, they really did a great job. The set design for the limited locations they had, awesome. Just awesome.
Yeah. I remember when we watched the movie last night, you were like, they made this shoestring budget work.
And they did. I mean, like, they went surreal with it, and it worked well. What I loved is that, like, it wasn't like they were trying to do anything that was real. What they had is they had a red light and they had a green light. Like, they stole, like, a traffic light from somewhere or something.
Mm.
And every scene had a red light shining somewhere and a green light shining somewhere. And they were very artistic with their lighting, with just these few different colors of lights. And it was striking. And every scene with the glowing furniture. I've never seen glowing furniture that looks like this in any other film, and it was awesome looking.
And it was literally just like a light, neon light or something underneath a table that had a white tablecloth, and it made the whole thing glow. It was really cool.
Yeah. The effects of their heads on the table, as people are eating, they would place the heads of whoever they were eating staring directly back at them. Which, that's awful, but the whole idea of eating the people is awful, so whatever. This doesn't make it more or less awful. It's just awful in general. It looked really cool also. It was the cover of the film, so you'll see it up there if you haven't seen this movie. It looked awesome again. I'm going to gush a little bit about their cinematography and what they worked with, because it wasn't all great, but the times it wasn't great were the times where he wasn't indulging in his vice.
Yeah.
Like when he's living his regular life as a plastic surgeon or whatever, it just looked like a doctor's office. But whenever he was involved in the cannibalism, it just looked cool. And the special effects. So you said you wanted to talk about one of them.
Yeah. What was the scene with the guts?
So he is pulling the organs out of one of the ladies he's killed.
Yeah. I can't remember what scene that was, but I actually really liked that scene. I don't know why. I guess I'm weird. I don't know. But I don't know what they used, but he was pulling the guts out of the lady, and it was just so red and like had the macaroni and cheese sound effects, which was slightly satisfying. So you gotta watch out for me, apparently.
you know, it's the sort of special effects that I really love, because the body itself, it looked like kind of like a trash bag with like some rigidity in the underneath it, but like flesh colored.
Yeah.
But it was fine because the organs they're pulling out looked super gross, and just like they dove in on it, and they were just showing them cutting it open and then pulling the organs out. But this isn't the movie that you can shy away from it. If you're gonna get into this topic of eating people and you're gonna make it really this much about eroticism and lust,
Yeah.
you can't shy away from these things. This movie doesn't shy away from things. It's like, yeah, let's show you the special effects. Let's get into it. And
yeah,
I think you can tell, like I said again, that they didn't have like a ton of money because they weren't always like movies grade props in my mind, but I think they really worked with what they had. And I will say the special effects also, they did good. They did fine. There was the wedding scene. We didn't even talk about the wedding scene. So
before we get to that, I just want to say they did a good job at making guts look extraordinarily beautiful.
They were very pink guts.
Reddish pink, sensual.
That's not the...
Maybe makes you want to eat some from the one that you love.
That's not the way I would describe them, but I do appreciate your opinion. Because if I say anything else, I'm afraid for my life.
You look delicious.
Oh, we're losing something. We will survive here. Don't worry. We're all okay. Mostly. Okay, let's talk about the wedding scene. Because I do want to talk about the wedding scene. Because the wedding scene is... Dr. Kotorida is employed to create the food for... Oh, dude, I wish I knew which one it was. I'm terrible. But one of the female actresses' weddings in this film.
It's not your fault. It's IMDb's fault.
I don't know if it was Amy, but I thought she got killed. Rumi definitely got killed. Saki, I'm not confident. So this is the issue. Is like some people were dying, and it happened pretty quick. As we talked about the story, like, and we'll talk about this in editing and pacing a lot more. I think it was confusing, but the wedding part was awesome because he brings the food. He has everyone eating the food, and everyone's like, "Wow, this food is amazing! This is the best food I ever had catered. Oh my gosh, where did you get this? It was your friend. It was a gift. Oh my gosh, this is great!" And then he unveils the statue of body parts.
Not expected.
Not expected. He had clearly gone fully off the deep end at this point. One of the heads like decides it's gonna become back alive for a second and move and fall off the statue.
Yeah.
However, I had such a vivid remembering of the Hannibal TV series, like I said. This scene felt like it was directly out of the Hannibal TV series. And this came well before the Hannibal TV series. So if you did enjoy the Hannibal TV series, I think that we got to give this its flowers and say that, like, that wedding scene was well ahead of its time here. And it influenced something that I think was really great. I would not be shocked at all if Brian Fuller has watched this movie a bunch of times in preparation to making Hannibal, and he said, I need to make it that gross. I want to make Hannibal, but make it this gross.
Maybe we can interview Brian Fuller and ask him directly.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not saying no to a Brian Fuller interview. Hey, Brian, come on down. Yeah, just awesome. I thought the cinematography and the creativity in the scenes was great. It was easily, in my opinion, the strongest part of the movie. Striking visually movie. If nothing else, striking visually. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. Visually, yeah. I think we both agree that it was very David Lynchian. The lighting, I mean, automatically in the scene where they sacrifice the woman, or the woman sacrifices herself in front of everybody, and then they all eat her for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately thought of David Lynch, and I think it was because of the red curtains and everything, and the lighting. And it was a little distorted, the camera.
They had like white pillars in all these sorts of places. It had kind of this like classical, classy feeling, but at the same point, not exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so it gave a lot of those feelings, but kind of surreal, distortment. You were confused throughout the film for sure. And I don't know, I mean, watching it, it's a Japanese film and you're watching it with subtitles, like we said, it's like, are we supposed to be this confused? I don't know. But I feel like it added to what it, it made it more what it was supposed to be, basically. Are we talking about the lighting mostly right now, or just
lighting's a part of it? It's just the way the movie looks and the creativity that went into making it look that way.
I really like the creativity and the special effects and the use of blood. The blood could have been thicker to me, more red, but other than that, I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
I'm creepy. I'm sorry.
No need to be sorry. We're let's talk about the editing and pacing.
Okay.
So this is where I think my chief complaints as a moviegoer at editing and pacing have typically been this. Does it feel too long? No, this movie didn't feel too long. This movie felt the appropriate amount. It wasn't a particularly long movie. It was like an hour and 29 minutes, so it was pretty short. They're just clocking in. But then the second question is always, whoever edited and put it together, were you able to keep the audience along with you for this ride? And what I mean is, did it make sense in the timeline? Did you understand what was going on? And this is where the film suffers, because it does this time jump. And it's never really like fully clear when they're in the past or when they're in the present for a while. And there's important stuff happening that would be both relevant to the past and the present at this point. And it's not like 100% like, okay, so we saw that first scene where he kills the lady. And then I think we see that scene again later. However, that must mean that a lot of that stuff happened before this, but it doesn't really track very well. And it almost doesn't matter, except for to understand this film as a viewer, you want to know these things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like the editing hurt the movie in the fact that I never truly knew exactly what was going on. Like, I talk about not knowing the actresses and their names, and I feel like that's partly because the editing never let me sit with one of them for more than like 10 seconds. It was like, all right, here they are. They're important because they're this person, this person, this person. They're also with that person. They might be pregnant. They might not be pregnant. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. They're going to die. We're going to eat them, and we're going to move on. And it kept going like that so fast and so rapid fire, and just you couldn't get a hold of it. And this is where it's like, I was watching these things, and besides the Thailand leading to him liking to eat meat, the rest of it didn't track. Like the wedding scene, that's clearly some lady he's been with, and then like his coworker at the surgery center, I think, maybe.
Yeah. So confusing.
And she just chose him over Dr. Kotorida because he wouldn't feed her properly or tell her where the BK. I don't know. And this is where the editing and pacing really hurts, is because I don't actually know what happened in this film besides the doctor ate people. He liked to eat people. A detective found out. He killed the detective, and then he served people at a wedding human food.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I'm glad that you say that, because I was confused the whole time.
I was taking notes, man.
For me, I feel like a lot of the times when I'm confused, I'm like, I just don't get this. This is like too surreal or too artistic for me or something, And I'm an artistic person, but when it comes to film, it can take me a while to understand what's going on. And I'm glad that you said that, though, because I was like, what is going on right now?
The time jump was
yeah.
so bad because it really wrecked any understanding of the timeline.
I mean, I kind of, once we said David Lynchian, I was like, all right, let's just go with it, you know? But I think David Lynch makes more sense.
David Lynch, I think, here's the difference to me, right? Is that the point, this is just me spitballing, I don't know, I can't say that for sure. The point of a David Lynch movie is the experience. It's the feeling you get. And I think that could be part of it, but this movie didn't, like, use the pacing to give you that experience. Like the disgust of the food and like the weirdness between like lust and disgust and like how that interplays with each other wasn't aided by being completely confused on where we were in the story.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it gave me vibes of, I think I mentioned this yesterday, was The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. Because I feel like that movie has a lot of similar, like, what the heck's going on, you know? And it's slightly surreal and it makes you feel distorted, but with more of like a Lynchian vibe, you know? You're like, what the heck's going on with this dude in this random new country? And how did he get here? And, you know, but yeah, I just feel like it all, I don't know, it added to it for me. I'm like, what's another thing? It's going to make it more confusing. You know, that's just part of it. It's art. I don't know.
No, that's that. I mean, and that's fair. This is just like I Inland Empire. I talked about the number one movie we reviewed this year, right? The whole purpose of that movie was that the main character didn't know their identity anymore because it got lost in the role they were playing. And so you were just as lost as they were at the points they were. When they were like, what the heck? Who am I? You were also like, what the heck? Who are you? So you placed you in the feelings of the main character. You know what I mean? Whereas like here, Dr. Kotorida is on it. He knows what he's doing. He knows exactly where he is. All of the women know exactly where in the timeline they are. But the viewers are just like, did this happen before you took out the lady? Was this like before the cops were? I just don't know.
I think it just reflects Christianity.
And no one knows where we are in the timeline for Christianity either.
It's all confusing.
I won't. If you want that podcast, it's somewhere else. Trust me on that one.
Or religion in general, maybe.
This is an interesting idea that you have here because, like, that I want to believe that was what they were going for with this because there is the religious tie that seems to be pretty like willy nilly. But maybe that is it. Maybe this is all like you don't know where you're at in this timeline, in the grand scheme of things, and even if you seem like you got a hold on it, you don't really. Because there may have been like the religious imagery behind on all the walls. I'm not confident it was all Christian religious imagery. I just don't know well enough the religious imagery. Like some of that could have very well been not Christian. Some of it was definitely Christian. I'm an American. I know what Christian religious imagery looks like because I'm inundated by it every day.
Yeah.
But for other religions, I'm not sure. And
they look like pretty Christian to me.
Anything else for editing and pacing?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Right. Music and sounds. You kick off the sound effects because talk. How does that make you feel?
Okay. The sound effects, yeah. You know me. I'm not very good at paying attention to sound.
Oh, you're great at it. You loved it, dude, and that's fine.
Well, usually I'm not, but yeah, it was a physical thing, like a squishy, wet thing that was. Anyway, I thought it was pretty good. It was disturbing. You know, I think that they really wanted you to feel like you were in the moment, listening to him pull the guts out or cooking, frying the meat, which did make it a little bit more disturbing, I think, especially when he was like eating the fried up fat. Like that actually was pretty gross, and the sound effects of
You're hearing it,
him
like,
eating the fat and frying the
ooh.
fat and knowing it's a human fat. But then I think back at it and I'm like, are they trying to make this sound sensual? I didn't get that from it. I thought it was more gross. But what did you think?
I would buy that they were trying to make it sound sensual. The hard part for me was that it was all so over the top. Like it clearly they wanted you to pay attention to it. They clearly wanted you to be disgusted by it, but it's almost hard to be disgusted when it's so silly.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a part where when he's sawing someone's head off.
I loved
at some
the
point it was
saw.
like and it's like that was the neck snapping.
Oh,
It
was
sounded
it?
like a chicken bone.
I was like, I like the saw sound though.
It's
It's very satisfaction.
I don't absolutely hate it. I just think like the repulsion was lost a little bit in comedy for me. And when he's in the foreign country and he's walking around the street vendors, they kept making monkey noises, but I never saw one monkey.
Oh.
So like, come on guys, show me the monkey or get rid of the noise. You showed me a lot of birds. Birds don't sound like monkeys. Unless I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone call me out on that. Show me a bird that sounds like a monkey. I'll show that to my kids. That'll be cool.
See, you're so much better at listening to sounds than me, because I didn't notice the monkey or the birds.
I never used to care until I did this, so blame the additional crew.
I blame you.
The music was okay. I don't think we discussed the music very much. The music wasn't exceptional, but it was fine. It didn't bother me. Like the times where you needed the music, it was there. But the sound effects clearly were the star of the show on this one. And so let's talk about our favorite scenes.
Okay.
Your 3 favorite scenes. We could end up having some of the same scenes. That's the thing that happens with movies. Sometimes scenes are so good that everyone loves them, right? I'll start off and I'll let you do your thing, all right?
Okay.
My first favorite scene was easily the wedding scene, the body sculpture. It was just so over the top. We hadn't really seen him like do crazy things with the body. I mean, he eats them. That is pretty crazy. But we hadn't seen him do like crazy artwork with the bodies. And then we did. And I loved the Hannibal TV series. When I compare it to that, it is such a compliment. You don't know.
Yeah. They really built up the tension when they opened that box at the end, too.
Oh, dude. Well, and like you for sure, you were like, okay, underneath the serving platter thing, whatever you call it, like that's gonna be a head, and it wasn't. It was just food. And then of course all of the box shows up. You're like, oh, that's gonna be the head. And then it was a crazy statue with a bunch of heads and a bunch of body parts all put together. And like you're
like, this is either gonna be really good or real bad.
Yeah, it was really good. Especially because it let the scene sit for a minute with everyone eating the food. You know what I mean? So it really got to it. They're like, yeah, if you just found out everyone who was around you was just eating humans, like everyone's screwed up.
Delicious.
The scene with the lady, and I wrote Saki. This is a guess. But her head on the table and everything glowing from the light in the table and the wine bottles, and it just looks like such a nice little setup. But the head is just staring right at him, and he's just eating, happy as can be, right in front of her.
Don't you want me to be on your table someday?
No, I like every part of you connected. And I will be very I want that.
My head.
I do want that on the record as well too. I like every part as a whole.
But you can freeze my head and then just bring it out whenever you want to look at it.
That's a good argument, but still, I stick with what I said for the record. No, but I just thought the aesthetic of that scene was so good. It was so well done. It's not a complicated scene by any means, and yet with the glowing tables, I cannot give enough credit to the glowing tables. Like, my goodness, whoever made that choice made a super inspired choice, and it worked so well for a full length feature.
Yeah, they were really good.
The strange exotic meat diner in the country he goes to. So when he like finally gets invited to the place where he's been chasing the dude in the black biker vest, and he finds the lady and she's like, "Come with me, I show you the place you want to see." And then they show up and he opens the door and it's just like this dude with this crazy sword dancing around a lady on the table, or not on the table, she's on a chair, and everyone else is just sitting around eating. Clearly tourists, like clearly people who are there for a reason. It did look very Lynchian. It gave me that it gave me like the strongest Lynchian film vibes, but also like it was a creepy secret society that like with especially in the year of the Epstein release,
Rich people.
gets a lot creepier, and the aesthetic again, awesome, just worked for me. I really enjoyed those scenes.
Yeah, those were all really good scenes.
How about you hit me with your 3?
I would say everything you said would be ones that I would also choose.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to, I guess, when I saw you chose those ones, I was like, okay, maybe I'll try to bring something different to the table. So all the scenes where the cooked meat is involved. And the only reason I say that is because they make this really bad looking meat out to be the absolute most delicious thing on earth. And it's funny how earlier you're like, it looks like delicious meat. So I don't know. Maybe I just don't. I don't know.
Again, this is the difference between cooking and cooked, because once it's cooked, it doesn't look very good. But the cooking process looks fine.
When it's cooked, it doesn't look good to me.
No, I agree.
okay.
It's like it's too pale. It just looks too pale.
It looks better when it's raw.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I'm just kidding. And my brain cannot, I don't know, like when they are eating this meat, you'll have to see it, but when they're eating it, they're like, oh my God, they're like put under a spell of how delicious this meat is, basically, right? I'm like, it does make you wonder as a person watching, how does it taste? You know what I mean? Like, what makes it so different than like beef or pork or chicken or whatever, any other kind of meat that you've had? Like, what makes it that delicious and tantalizing?
And it's the ultimate forbidden fruit. Everyone, almost in every culture everywhere, knows you can't eat humans. So maybe this is the connection to God, is that like that forbidden fruit that you couldn't eat on the tree wasn't necessarily that. It was the one thing that everyone says you cannot eat no matter what.
Yeah, that's true. So I think I really liked those scenes because it just forced me to kind of use all my senses, my imaginative senses, and just like wondering how it smells, how it tastes. And that sounds creepy, but it's like they make it seem so delicious and it looks disgusting. So it had my brain working in all kinds of weird ways. But it's just meat, dude. Okay. And then the next scene with all the guts being beautifully taken out. That was in my notes. Wow, I'm really making a name for myself right now. We'll just skip to the third one. I don't know what was wrong with me when I wrote that, okay? I'm not that weird.
That's, people do it every day, the coroners.
I really liked the scene when they went to the doctor's office to talk to what's his name? Kotorida. And the detective had that weird stuff on his face. And I don't know why I liked it, because I feel like they did that on purpose, where they're, making you wonder about this dude in this like kind of boring looking scene, because he's not talking about anything that really has to do with his face, because we learn about that later on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I really like scenes like that where they make you think beyond what's actually happening in the scene, and like making you wonder why he had this weird stuff on his face, why he's, what could have happened to him, even though we found out, I think, later. And he's questioning the doctor about the missing women. I guess I just like scenes where they're unexpected.
And I think that like a lot of directors and a lot of movie workers would do really well to include stuff like this that aren't even relevant to the plot sometimes, because like as I'm mentioning now, I'm saying it out loud, sometimes people are just they just sit there and they're just itchy, and like if you make like people have weird like tics that are really realistic and they don't have to be part of the plot, it might work out to serve to make these people more human.
So what did they say again was wrong with his skin later?
Okay, so they didn't give you a name for the condition, right? But he also had wondered what human meat tasted like, and he decided that he was going to eat bodies from the morgue.
Oh, right.
So he was eating dead, rotting bodies, and in theory, somehow he got a skin disease. I mean, imagine you get a disease. I don't know how, true that to life that is, but I'm glad I don't know. That's the truth.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. I didn't really need to know that, right? I feel like the film would have been fine if we didn't know that. And I mean, he ended up being like obsessed with this doctor's meat anyway, or he was like, oh, it just smells so good. And they could have totally left out that part about the morgue, I think. And it would have made it more interesting. And then it would have just been like this weird detective with the weird stuff on his face. Like they didn't even have to go into detail.
He would have been very like McPoyle-ish from like the It's Always Sunny, like where they're just weird. They're just weird people. They're just kind of nasty.
And that makes it human, right? Because when you meet a random dude on the street and he starts telling you a story and he's got weird things on his face, you don't know what happened to his face, and you're not going to ask.
Can you imagine if I was just going around talking to people about this stuff, but I had like the sores all over my face? I'd be like, hey, did you see that movie about cannibalism? It was awesome. It was crazy. It's a Japanese movie from 2005, and there was they had on the table, but the table was glowing.
Yeah. It would make you seem crazier. But nobody ever needs to know where the source came from.
But you're listening, and I appreciate you.
Keep it. Let them use their imagination as to where those sources came from.
It would be interesting. Like I get the whole plot behind him now blackmailing him to get the bodies and whatever, but it didn't end up playing out the way. But it did end up driving what's his name to being so mad that he sent a body to the wedding. So ultimately.
So yeah, those are my top scenes.
And let's talk about our reviews of the film. I'll give my ultimate review. I have mine just written out, so I'll go ahead and give this just my scores. So the story is a 2. The story had some unique ideas behind it, but it was really marred by just confusion and lots of plot holes and suspension of disbelief. And ultimately, the story as it's told doesn't make enough sense to make the points that I think it wants to make. For what it's worth. The acting is a 2, with a caveat here, with a gigantic asterisk on the 2, is that the dubbing kind of sucked. The physical acting looked okay. I think if we had just watched the original Japanese version, there's a chance that this would have been a higher score, because I don't know anyone that really stood out as being awful, except for the voice acting was awful across the board. So it's a 2. Cinematography creativity is a 4. I really enjoyed the way the film looked. I really enjoyed the special effects they used. My biggest beef with the beef, no pun intended, is not the right meat. That's not human meat.
Human.
Yeah. So my biggest. My brain's going on a tangent. What do you call human meat? But my biggest issue with this movie is the way it looks. Is that you could just feel kind of like the budget constraints on it at times based on the locations that they had. Like there wasn't very many really cool locations. I think you saw one time when they were on a dance floor with a lot of people, and that felt very out of place in this movie because the rest of it is very, very like everything's in solitude. It's all like one room in a warehouse or something, and they do a lot with that. But that's going to be my one big complaint. Everything else looked great. Editing, pacing is a 2. I if I was feeling bad, I could have went into a 1 on this. Just not at all understanding the timeline or who these people were or what was going on or how all their relationships worked. It felt like that part was in the story and it was just cut or not filmed or they didn't care about it enough to put it in here. And if you want to bring the relationship stuff at all into this, you have to bring the audience along with it. I don't care that this girl is getting married to another dude. It doesn't matter to me in this film, and I don't actually understand why it would matter to you. Why it would matter to him. So, and she's not pregnant. At least I don't think she was, or maybe she was. I don't know. They bring it up so haphazardly and then just drop it immediately. That what are you supposed to do with that? And so the editing pacing is a 2. Music and sounds. We talked enough about it as a 3 for me. Like it wasn't bad. It just got over the top sometimes. That's okay. I can understand as a stylistic choice. So that's a 3. Ultimately, that leaves me with a 5 out of 10. And this is one of those films that I'm giving a 5 out of 10. And I know someone else is like, 5 out of 10, that's not very good. I think it's still worth watching. This is a strong 5 out of 10 as far as watchability goes. If a Japanese film about cannibalism sounds like it's up your alley, this probably will be up your alley. Don't get me wrong. The cinematography and creativity alone is worth it if you're into surreal films or like you don't mind the goriness and the creepiness of the idea.
Yeah, I think for me, this is a tough one. I don't use the same rubric you do. I just go out vibes.
Vibe-based viewing, it's real. It's real.
Yeah, I think it was lacking the emotional depth that I need from a movie to give it a high score. I didn't feel like I really got to know any of the characters, including the main character. It was mostly based on like his relations and his wants and his needs, and I feel like maybe if they went more into his story, then I could have liked him a little bit more, got to know him a little bit more, understood him a little bit more, but you really don't get the idea of why he eats people, why he eats women in particular. Like, why is this a big deal to him? I don't know. Maybe we were missing something. I know he had a blog, which we found out in the end. But it was all in Japanese, so we did not know that's what that was.
it was not subtitled either, so like, because the cop mentions at some point, they're like, well, there's been a dude blogging about all the exact things that are happening to all the people, and I was like, that's what that was? Dang, missed that.
Yeah. We're like, oh, okay. And I remember, at one point you're like, oh, I think that because they flashed to the screen, which was like a computer screen a few times, and it was all in Japanese. And, one time you're like, I think we're missing a lot from this. Like, it was all red text on a black background, and
They did it enough times. You're supposed to read something out of
and
that.
I'm sure that there was more emotional depth in there that I was missing, and just like the character building in general. But I think I'd probably give the movie a 4 out of 10 just because it's lacking so much of that characterization, character building, and that's really important to me. I did appreciate the visuals a lot. Like, I liked the lighting, and like you said, they did a lot on the shoestring budget. The story though and the characters definitely are priority for me when I'm reviewing films. And the story was, like you said, it just wasn't there. It was choppy. It was all over the place. The timeline was messed up. Why he ate the meat in the first place was confusing. We know he I mean, I guess the sexual arousal thing, that was probably the strongest point in the whole movie, was his sexual attraction or wanting for eating this meat. So that was, strong point. But I think it is worth watching, though. Like you said, especially if you're a David Lynch fan, and you like surreal films. If you like things that are obscure and good lighting, and you like to kind of take your own interpretation on things and, have an idea and imagination behind what you think different things mean, I think this could be a good movie for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll have to go back and rewatch it, I think, someday as a Japanese movie with just English subtitles.
Yeah, this is
We had Spanish subtitles on ours, right?
Spanish subtitles and English subtitles, the whole thing.
Yeah. YouTube.
Okay, tell me, our reviews are in, but I'm going to ask one question. Would it be a bridge too far, and is the line too hard to cross, that I feel like what would have made this a stronger movie is if him going crazy meant he had eaten the fetus?
You really wanted to see that?
Well, I think it's a really awful idea. A terrible, like, it's just so dark and so gnarly that, like, it would really hammer home the level of nastiness and, like, disconnection from humanity that he feels.
Yeah.
But then if it screws with the sexual stuff, I don't know. Never mind.
No, I mean, yeah, and that would have made sense with her bringing up she was pregnant. I think that's what we thought was coming, but it didn't end up happening.
No. And that might have been, like, someone, the Japanese MPAA or whatever they call it, was like, no, we let you get away with a lot. Not that.
I do think, too, like, with it being titled The Last Supper, there was probably a lot of connection to religion that we missed somehow. If you scroll back up, I think I missed, this reminds me that I missed, no, sorry, go back down. Oh, I said it felt like they were worshiping this meat the way people worship God, making it out to be this phenomenal thing when really it's just a dude. It's just meat. So I felt like I was going somewhere with that when I was talking about, like, my favorite scenes in the meat. And I feel like there's something deeper there as far as religion goes, or like what the director, writer wanted to convey. But maybe it wasn't conveyed to us the way that they wanted it to be. Especially, being titled The Last Supper. So
there's something there for sure. Thank you, Janice. Thank you for reviewing this wonderful film with me.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing the wonderful reward. It's not even an award show. It's just our top 5 list show. But I appreciate every single person who has helped me continue this on, help me just do a part of this. And I hope that you feel like you are enjoying doing it as well. And I hope someone out there is listening and saying this is awesome, and that they're enjoying listening to it, because I know the movies that we are reviewing are not always movies that anyone has watched. This one probably is not an exception. If you checked out a new movie that you liked from it, that makes me happy. Stay tuned. I'm going to give you the top 6 through 10 of Willie's list, top 6 through 10 of my list, and the top 5 video games of 2025, because I love lists, but I've put it here at the end so that way you didn't have to listen to it all unless you wanted to. Otherwise,
listen, check it out.
Otherwise, delicious. I have never tasted meat this good.
Here's an award.
My top 5 video games of 2025. I know this isn't a video game review podcast, but I talk about them from time to time, and I keep scores and the dates that I beat them and all that fun stuff, so I'm going to share it anyway. My top 5 video games of 2025. I'll start with number 5. Number 5, Chronos, The New Dawn. Chronos The New Dawn is Bloober Team's follow-up to Silent Hill 2 Remastered, which if you listened to me last year, that was my favorite game. They're killing it right now. Chronos is a little bit different. Clearly, I don't necessarily love the tone as much. However, the action and the difficulty really settled with me, and I like the placement and really just like these high quality horror games when they come out. It's just great. So Chronos, phenomenal game. If you like survival horror and you don't mind it being difficult, definitely check it out. I think it gets a bad rap for being like Dead Space. Dead Space is great. This is different enough that it feels pretty good. Number 4, a sequel to a series that I hold dear, Mafia: The Old Country. So Mafia: The Old Country doesn't do anything to reinvent any wheels. It's mission based. It didn't when it released and when I beat it have an open world, but it had a fairly strong story that petered off a little bit towards the end. A beautiful, wonderfully built landmass that you played on, and just it felt like Mafia was able to return to its roots in such a way that I have a lot more faith in it going forward. Mafia 3 had some interesting elements, but ultimately suffered from the bloat of open world gaming at the time, and this doesn't. This was able to refine a lot of what you'd hoped for from this series. Number 3, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So this is everyone's favorite game. I did beat it just fairly recently. 2 things. One, I'm not huge into JRPGs, so the fact that it got on here, that's a pretty good sign. It's very French. It's very eccentric, and it didn't sit particularly well with me at first. However, near the end of the game, I decided that I was going to go and see all of the little pieces and all of the side content that was possible out there, as opposed to just rushing through it. My kids loved watching this game, so I was like, okay, yeah, let's go check this out. And the side content was, in my opinion, better than the main content. We're a movie review podcast. Like, these sort of plots that have twists and emotional manipulation don't necessarily always hit. I think that one of the main twists in this film was actually I called it a film. One of the main twists in this game was actually a little bit unfair to the people who were playing it. Like, yeah, it mattered, but also it was a little bit shoot in. I didn't love the way it was set up. However, I will say this: it was fun when it was really clicking and you were parrying every single move that an enemy made, and you had to. I got excited. I was standing up out of my seat. I cheered at the end of a boss, and if you get me to do that, that you've done something right. So, very enjoyable. My 3rd favorite game of the year. Number 2, Hell Is Us. Criminally underrated, overlooked. Adam Jensen with the worst hair you've ever seen in a game is the main character, and you go through vaguely Souls-like combat and these quasi-open world areas, kind of just solving puzzles. Some of them are item-based and some of them are social-based. But either which way, what really gets you is the story of the land that you're traveling through. And it is told both through elemental cues and through the story and through side plots from the characters. And the story of this land that you're traveling through is so tragic and it's so real. It doesn't shy away from war crimes. It doesn't shy away from children being in the crossfire. It doesn't shy away from any of it. It makes really strong statements on what is just true to life human suffering. And I love it for that. And it was one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen because of the way they set things up, not necessarily because of the fidelity of the graphics, but because of the art design. And it was everything I would hope for. It almost felt like you were playing like a Mr. Raven game, but it had some Souls-like combat. The combat was the worst part, but it had potential to it, where if you're someone like me and you can look over parts of the games that are a little bit more janky because you love other parts so much, I think you really grab onto something here. Hell Is Us is a game I just recommend you play if you have the ability to be patient on certain areas, and the combat is that area, which is a hard thing to do, but the rest of the game is just so full of depth and lore and beauty and darkness. One of the few games that really, really, really attempts to get you to question things in reality through a fictional media. I loved it. So Hell is Us is my second favorite. And my first favorite, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Just it's hard to describe this game as anything other than almost the perfect medieval simulator. It's of course not exactly that. Like, you play as Henry. It has a phenomenal story that's almost on par, in my opinion, with the cleverness and the depth of a Grand Theft Auto story in a different setting and in a different tone. So it's not exactly the same. Don't get me wrong, but it does have like the same level of funniness, intrigue, revenge. You have it kind of all here, and you get to see it through the eyes of someone who you really feel like you're playing as. When you're playing as Henry of Skalitz, you feel like Henry of Skalitz. You have to wash your clothes. You have to do everything. There's so many different ways to attempt everything in this game, and it really rewards you for being curious and for choosing something on your own. And there's almost no game at this point that I felt so happy to just explore through the woods, find a random cabin, and find an apothecary who teaches me fighting skills. It feels like a world that exists, and you can tell that it's built on a world that existed at some point, and they were very thorough, and they managed to bring you into it. Just a lovely game, and so much content. I spent so many hours in this game, and I don't usually do that with games. Usually with games, I like to try to beat them and move on. With Kingdom Come 2, it was, we're going to ride around and watch the sunset as we look for this windmill that I don't know if it has anything, but even if it doesn't, it's pretty cool looking, and I want to see that. So Kingdom Come 2, my ultimate game of 2025. I loved it, and it's a game that I think anyone who has a passing interest in RPGs should try. Check it out.
Yo, what's up? This is Willie J. I co-host the Double Doinkers Fantasy Football Podcast with Nick. I'm going to be sharing my top 10 favorite films as well as a few honorable mentions of 2025 today. And I'm super excited. Nick and I have been friends for about 6 years, and one of the reasons we're such good friends is because two of our favorite things to talk about, learn about, watch, research is both fantasy football, sports in general, and then movies too. I love movies. I was fortunate enough to go to the movies this year, probably more than any other year in my life. Taking advantage of living next to a few historical theaters in Portland has been really awesome. So I've had some great experiences, not so great experiences watching movies this year in the theater and at home. So I'm going to go ahead and just hop on into it today. I'll be sharing my top 10 and then some honorable mentions, and then, my top 9 honorable mentions, and then my number 1 film of the year. Starting off with number 10, I have the horror film Bring Her Back. This movie was directed by the Flopu brothers. They started on YouTube doing like horror comedy skits, and then they proceeded to start making feature films a couple years ago. Their first film was called Talk to Me, which was one of my favorite movies of 2023. Just a great, original, campy, scary, emotional, just a great movie. Go watch it if you love horror, if you haven't seen it yet. Their follow-up movie is this one, Bring Her Back. Basically, generally about the plot is it's about these children that after a tragedy in their family, they're assigned to a foster mom who is played by Sally Hawkins. And it's one of the most disturbing horror movies I've seen in a while. Not just because of the character building and the unsettlingness of it all. Like, you don't really know who these characters are. You don't really know what where their past is, what their motives are, until it's, built up slowly over time. Still really well paced in 90 minutes though. But it's also very disturbing just because of some of the scenes and imagery. There's one scene in particular in the kitchen with the foster mom's son that I still think about at least once a week. This movie isn't quite as good as Talk to Me, in my opinion. There is some parts of it that maybe drag a little bit or are kind of unclear or could be done a little bit differently, but the actual horrorness of it stands out like above a lot of other horror movies that are being made today. Just unbelievably well directed, creative, and just scary. But the main reason this is in my top 10 is because of Sally Hawkins. Her performance is probably my pick for my favorite performance by an actress this year. She is just unbelievably, parts charismatic and inviting, unsettling, and disturbing, but she doesn't play the character as one note or like a stereotype of just this horror movie villain type. There's a lot of nuance to her character. She portrays so much with her facial expressions, with her vocal inflections, just absolutely disturbing. Definitely check it out if you like horror, especially horror that actually gets you scared. Next up at number 9 is Kelly Reichardt's film, The Mastermind. So Kelly Reichardt has been around for a while now. She's made actually a few movies set in the Pacific Northwest, like First Cow and Wendy and Lucy. This one is set in 1970, and I believe it's Massachusetts. And I'm just going to read off the plot for a second here to kind of give you an idea of what you think this movie might be. It's set in 1970. Film follows a struggling family man and former art major who secretly plots to steal art from a sleepy suburban museum while the nation rages over the Vietnam War. Now, I think that description, like, if you're going into this movie, you might think it sounds like a slow-paced, sophisticated, dramatic period piece, about the unraveling of a tortured man that takes itself too seriously, perhaps, a very artsy movie, but I really didn't have a lot of expectations going into the movie, but what it turned out to be is that it's actually a slow-paced, sophisticated, really hilarious period piece about the unraveling of the stupidest fucking idiot ever. The movie starts as this. It really builds up. Like, you really think this guy is perhaps like a genius, or he's just a really good. He's basically a mastermind. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's an art aficionado. He has good taste. He knows how to get his way around things, and he has a clear path of what he wants to accomplish with his decisions and how he wants to support his family and his own ego. But after the initial plot point of the heist goes down, this movie just gets so frustrating, but it's so funny, and just so stupid. This guy is just... Josh O'Connor is just fantastic in this movie. I think it's his best performance that I've seen. He portrays this character that is very realistic, but also just so inept, and he just has this very absurd, just aimless masculinity. Even if his his pride and what he puts his work into, and his motivations for coming up with his plan, even he puts it into his ego and his self, but really it's just like an outlet for some stupid form of masculinity, I guess you could say. The score is awesome. You really feel like you're in the 1970s in this movie. It is pretty slow paced. There are times when the movie kind of drags a little bit, but honestly, it fits so well because this guy he's so aimless. He is dragging around while he's on the run. Like, he's so fucking frustrating. But this movie is just so stupid, and just sophisticated, stupid movies. If you like those, it's so well written. The score is amazing. Like, there's just so many components of just this very highbrow piece that is just featuring an exceptionally lowbrow man. I also loved Alana Haim as his wife. This movie is just... I watched this movie in the theater a few months ago, and I enjoyed it, and I liked it a lot, but I've come away like still thinking about it every day, so it's definitely one of my top 10 of the year. At number 8, I have Liam Neeson in The Naked Gun. Technically a sequel to the original 1980s Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen. This movie, if you're familiar with the original, you basically will get the gist of what this movie's about. Liam Neeson's character is the son of the original detective played by Leslie Nielsen, Frank Drebin Jr. And honestly, to keep it like simple, like this movie for what it is legitimately perfect. This movie really could not have been any better. It's the funniest movie I saw in the theaters all year, probably the funniest movie I've seen all year. The laughs per minute ratio that I got out of this movie is just like really unmatched. It's so stupid, but so just quick and clever and funny. And the sense of humor is so dry, which is definitely my sense of humor. But even within that, it's also just paced so well. The plot is just very goofy. Leslie Nielsen really is playing the character that his character's dad was in the original, but that is in the sense that he's, a detective and he's very stupid, but he's very self-confident. But Liam Neeson makes this character just completely his own. I think Neeson has done some other comedies, but I've never seen him this funny in a movie. His chemistry with Pamela Anderson I don't know, Pamela Anderson, who plays his love interest, is just, their chemistry is so good in this movie. The movie, like in the last third, does drag maybe a little bit. It gets a little bit too complex for just like a simple comedy, but doesn't even matter because this movie is still relentlessly funny the entire time. The acting is so good. It's just, there was a couple times in the movie theater where I was just like having to put my face in my shirt because I was trying not to cry laugh out loud. It's so funny. Maybe a specific type of humor. Like if you love the original, like I don't want to be, I don't want to be like too much here, but I will say I'll have a hot take here and say this movie's even funnier than the original. I don't care. Just a great comedy experience. My favorite comedy of the year, I think. At number 7, I have Ryan Coogler's Sinners. This movie has already been talked about a lot, and very rightfully so. This movie, like, it's basically exactly what both blockbusters and a horror film, especially a period horror film, should be. I think I read that this is the first movie to finish in the top 5 at the box office that wasn't based on a prior intellectual property this entire decade. And I'm so happy this movie was such a success because not only is it great, but it really just brings out that feeling of why we love movies, and specifically movies that can appeal to a mass audience. This movie really has something for everybody. It incorporates just so many great homages to Black culture, horror film culture, musical culture, especially the blues. And it's a film that's like has a sexiness to it and a chemistry between its leads that is actually believable and drives the plot along. The acting ensemble in this movie is great. I think above all, this is just a fantastic hangout film in a lot of ways, even though there's, a very complex plot, a lot of different genres going on, a lot of different things happening. This movie is just a great hangout film in the simplest way, really. It's also just very funny at times. This movie is just genreless. It really has something for everybody, and it's rare to see a movie that incorporates so many different themes and plot points and characters and things going on that just not only blends together so well and makes a great movie, but makes one that is just super entertaining. I think Michael B. Jordan gives the best performance of his career in this movie. He plays identical twin brothers that have distinct personalities and choices of words and just facial expressions and motivations and heart. He just plays both brothers so well. Just really a difficult performance, given so much of what is going on in the movie that he has to have a love interest, to have grief, to fight vampires. There's so much to his character. The whole cast is great. There's also so many great scenes in this movie. 2 in particular there's one, I think at this point, iconic scene where it's just panning around the party and just showing all the different characters, and then it gets surrealist and shows musical numbers and different stylistical choices that aren't just from this time period but stretch 100 years in the future, and it just does it so well. It doesn't come across as like, hey, this is a cool camera trick, like we're going to show you how to do this. It actually like it fits the plot and is just so cool. And the ending of this movie reminds me of Inglourious Bastards, one of my favorite movies. Reminds me of Inglourious Bastards in just the best possible, satisfying way. Just a great movie. Just a wonderful theater experience too. Like, another thing with blockbusters is not only having it be a movie that is enjoyed by so many different types of people, but is also just a movie that you sit with others in the theater, and that specific theater experience collectively is the best place to experience it. I just slam dunk. This movie makes me excited for the future of movies. At number 6, I have The Long Walk, directed by Francis Lawrence. This movie is set in the early 1970s, in kind of a dystopic, I want to say post-apocalyptic or like revisionist-ish history of the Vietnam War. It's based on a short story by Stephen King, so it is definitely a thrilling movie. There's a lot of horror elements to it, but this movie, I can honestly say, like, thinking about all the movies I've seen in the theater this year, but honestly just in general, this movie is one of the most disturbing in a good way, and like I can't think of the best word to use right now, but it's the kind of movie where I felt more immersed in the characters and the plot. I can't even compare it to another movie going experience. It was not only so intense, but the intensity was earned. In the movie, basically, to give a quick rundown because it's essential to understanding it, there's kind of a quasi Hunger Games style lottery system of young men across America who put their names into enter into this lottery to get the opportunity to participate in this government-run long walk, where I believe there's a young man from every one of the 50 states, and they are set to walk in unison in a straight line until the last one is standing. So 49 of them are going to be dead, and there's one winner, and that winner gets all the accolades and their family benefits for generations at the hand of the elite of the capital, of the wealthy. So basically all 50 of these young men are going into this situation knowing that only one is going to come out, but they are all so desperate because of the times that they live in. They're young men, and there's a lot of confidence within them. There's a lot of masculinity, toxic masculinity. There's a lot of government propaganda, influencing them and making them believe that they can be the one that succeeds and walks the longest and survives. What makes this movie especially great is the acting and the chemistry between the young leads. Cooper Hoffman, son of the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, is incredible in this movie. David Johnson, I think, gives an Oscar-worthy performance as another one of the young men. Their chemistry here is just really beautiful. The plot, the character development in just a short, like less than 2 hours that this movie takes place, and especially in such a confined environment, is so awesome. Just how well it progresses given the confines of the plot of the script. And the reason this movie's on the list in particular, I will say that there are some flaws in it. Sometimes the pacing isn't great. Sometimes it's a little bit over the top. Sometimes it doesn't really know what it wants to be. Does it want to be sci-fi? Does it want to be drama? But those moments are kind of few and far between because the ending and the character development is so satisfying. But the reason this movie's on the list in particular is because I left the theater feeling like I was actually in these characters' lives, and that feeling of disturbing feeling, but also that heartfelt feeling didn't leave me for a few days. It reminded me some of my own personal family trauma of my grandfather being in the war, and trying to think about what he experienced. And this is just a very emotional, authentic portrayal that starts off as a portrayal of false masculinity, and it turns into a brilliant portrayal of what actual masculinity is and brotherly love. And it's a movie that will really stay with me for a long time. A movie I don't think I'd ever want to see in a theater ever again, honestly. But just an original Stephen King product turned into a really, really well-made movie. It's impressive how well it was made. if you read the short story, it really feels like an unmakeable movie, and they somehow did it. Also, there is a scene where one of the characters, as you know, when they're walking in this long line, they have to continue walking. They can't stop. So normal bodily functions come up throughout this, and they can't do anything to like go off to the side, and they just have to do it. And some instances of that in this movie, I will never get those scenes out of my head. Jesus Christ. Before I get into my number one pick, I want to talk about a few honorable mentions. Starting off with a pair of just a couple great documentaries currently on streaming. One is John Candy, I Like Me. Just an absolutely beautiful, authentic, sincere tribute to an incredible actor and person that we lost way too soon. John Candy is always someone whose work I've respected. I've always found him very funny. I love that he's from the Chicago area, like my family. But watching this movie about his life, told from the perspective of those who knew him and loved him, both in show business and intimately, like his family, you just get such a real portrayal of this person, and the story's told with so much love. The people that are interviewed and talk throughout the documentary or just speak about him so kindly. And you really just get the sense of this person. Not only is it just a wonderful person, but you get the sense of the full sense of a human being, really, in this movie. His work, has been around for years. So many of his movies are gonna be around and stand the test of time. But this is a very stripped back portrayal of who John Candy was as a person, and it made me admire him so much. Even taking out the fact that he's a famous actor, just a beautiful tribute to a person. Also want to shout out The Perfect Neighbor. This documentary is told from the perspective of police body cam footage, and it takes place over the series of a couple years as it portrays interactions between police and neighbors as the neighbors call and report certain going-ons between their community and this, for lack of a better term, evil white woman who lives in a predominantly black neighborhood and passive-aggressively and then later aggressively terrorizes this community. Just very stark, very real, very sad. I mean, the movie at its core, just based because on issues of race and police and oppression, is very political, but just as a documentary, it's just also engaging and haunting and just all too real and sad. Just really well done. This movie deserves an Oscar for Best Documentary, but I think in a just world, it would also get an Oscar nomination for Best Film Editing because it is so well put together, given all the footage that they went through. Also want to shout out Final Destination Bloodlines. So much fun. Just so stupid but campy. So stupid but funny, campy, entertaining. Just exactly what the Final Destination franchise should be. Really, this movie could not have been any better. Like, it's just perfect Final Destination movie, perfect theater going experience. Just so stupid, so fun. Loved it. I also want to shout out Train Dreams, which is just a beautiful portrayal of a man who grew up as a logger in the early 20th century in the Pacific Northwest. Just incredible period piece, great music, great cinematography, great performance by Joel Edgerton in the lead. Equal parts sad, funny, just beautiful, and it's just a really beautiful portrayal of humanity. And is as slow paced as it can be at times, and as so out of our relatability that we as an audience would have with this character that lived 100 years in the past. It comes across as so human, and just a really beautiful movie. And then I also want to give a shout out to Friendship, starring Tim Robinson. Just surreal, goofy, disturbing, hilarious comedy. If you like Tim Robinson's stuff, you're going to love this. He's basically playing himself in the characters he portrays in I Think You Should Leave, and this is basically I Think You Should Leave the movie, and it's great for it because it also adds Paul Rudd and a more drawn out narrative. Just very funny movie. Also features Connor O'Malley in a great small role. Connor O'Malley is my favorite comedian currently working. He directed and starred in my favorite movie from last year, Rap World, which is on YouTube. You should go watch it. One of my favorite comedies I've ever seen. This just is another great hangout movie. Just so many great actors and comedians in this movie. Just so stupid, but I love it.